Hey, everybody, it's Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. When did we collectively decide this? Don't adjust your clocks because, folks, it is time for the Giant Bombcast, powered by NZXT. I'm your host, Jan O. Choa. Joining me, co-captain of the ship, as always, Jeff Grubb.
You said that date, and I need to call my dad. It's his birthday, so I'll do that as soon as this show's over. Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday, yeah. Papa Grubb. Jeff Baclar, you are here, the authority on birthday celebrations. What should we do for Papa Grubb?
We're gonna take him axe throwing.
Hell yeah!
And we're gonna see how he likes that. We'll have to go through that whole safety protocol first, but we'll do it. And that's how you should celebrate. I love how you intro the show, Jen. It's almost as if the date surprises you every time.
It does.
It's almost like it sneaks up on you.
It does.
I like that about your delivery.
Time terrifies me.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what doesn't terrify me? What doesn't terrify me is making new friends, extending my hands across the internet and holding hands and joining those hands with our two special guests today. Joining us, we have Nathan Grayson and Chris Person. Hello, gents.
Hey, how's it going?
It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Yeah, glad to have you guys here.
Why are you guys here?
How'd you get here?
How'd you get in here?
What's happening?
I thought you guys were done with video games.
I tried to be, and then unfortunately, I was forced back in by my own decision, by my new boss, who is me.
Yeah, I heard that guy's a real bastard. You got to be careful with that.
Yeah, he barely even keeps like a coherent schedule. I don't understand how he's made it this far.
Yeah, so you guys started a website about video games in 2023. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so it's called Aftermath. It is a new worker-owned, reader-funded video game website. It's about games, the internet, culture, things like that. It's founded by people who used to work at Kotaku. 4 of us, and we are hoping to just kind of do writing that is good and cool and interesting to us in a time when a lot of other websites are folding and things are going kind of horribly in that regard.
You guys, when you guys set out to do it, what was the conversation like? What was like, oh, we need this to make it possible? I'm like kind of curious, like what stages of grief did you go through? All that stuff.
I mean, honestly, like, the making it possible element was pretty contingent just on like the right people being available. It was sort of like a handful of us because the whole crew is me, Luke Plunkett, Geeta Jackson, Riley McLeod, and Chris. And so it was just sort of a matter of like the right people being no longer employed, which again, in this industry, happens a lot more than it used to. And so it was just kind of this conversation that initially I had with Luke, because he had just quit Kotaku. And I was like, wow, that I think really speaks to the state of things. And so I was like, hey, maybe we could do Defector for Games. Just kidding, unless. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And so I was like, oh, okay. Well, then, and that was pretty much the start of the process. After that, it was just, learning how to start a business, which is not a terribly interesting thing to talk about, but which took a lot of time.
Yeah, that's the scary thing when I think about anything like that. It's like, oh, that seems like a lot of work and a lot of responsibility, and the kind of thing where with my brain, I'm like, oh, maybe I could get it set up, but actually maintaining it, it's just entropy is going to come for it so fast. So, I mean, did one of you stand out as like, oh, this person actually seems like they would be responsible, and now you guys just put all the work on them?
I mean,
Riley?
Yeah, definitely Riley. Like, and
Riley's one of the most responsible people we know, and
it seems that way.
He's so cool. Just a great editor, and also just really talks about. I don't know. It's hard to. I don't want to speak for him. It's just like it's very much like get the person who actually gets the things in all the ducks in a row. Instead of just coming in and doing your flighty writer thing, and it's always just one of the most consistent people I know in a field of people who are very like flighty. I don't know other way to put it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely makes sense.
I mean,
I
I'm putting
mean,
together the Giant Bomb at Night couch for Game of the Year, and it's like, oh man, herding cats yet again. It's
Right.
just, it's like I'm one of those cats, so I totally get it.
Luke as well. For context. Luke is also just phenomenally like, guys, what are we doing? Guys, what are we doing? Guys, what are we doing? And so like, yeah.
They play off each other really well too, in that Riley is always fretting about something, which is good because somebody needs
right,
to.
You need a
friend.
fretter.
And Luke is on the other end of the spectrum, being like, actually, it's going to be okay. This is not going to be the end of us. This is not the worst possible thing that could happen. Most things are just going to work. It'll be all right. And so between that, we're on every possible side of the emotional spectrum all the time.
I love it.
A real ride.
You need a duck wrangler, a fretter, someone to talk someone down. You got all the bases covered. Yeah.
Yeah, the drummer, yes.
Drummer,
Exactly. So I mean, then when it comes to like actually the content and putting stuff up on a website, what's the vision?
So the basic idea is like, I think that a lot of the people in games media who have launched their own things have kind of, made it a little bit more personality driven, out of necessity, and also because people enjoy that. But that means like, a less frequent schedule than maybe the websites that they came from. And so we want to go back a little bit more to like the way things unfolded when there were more blogs around, meaning that like, we're going to have daily content. We're going to have at least a few posts every day, if not more, depending on, longer term projects and things like that. And like, we're going to do a podcast, we're going to do a Twitch stream, all that stuff too. But yeah, we want to do something that's a little bit more akin to, these sorts of places that we came from, places like Kotaku, before they became overburdened by, the need to produce guides and a bunch of other types of content that maybe don't necessarily fit the site.
Just private equity generally.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's really the sort of like, that was always, we take a lot of, everyone involved has taken a lot of influence from Defector. And so like the idea of being like, we don't have to stay here anymore. What you want is the people. We can just move is really heartening. And I mean, it feels strange. It feels strange to be like, okay, is this going to work? And, there is still that anxiety, but,
Yeah, I do like, for people that are listening might not know what Defector is. Defector was people from Deadspin who, after that turned into various kinds of trash fires, they left, did their own thing, and have...
They all quit.
Yeah,
they all quit the same day.
Yes, it was a real big exodus, yes. And then started their own thing, and it's gone pretty well so far, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's gone well beyond anybody's wildest dreams.
Yes.
Like, they now employ a staff of around 30 people, but it's all still, reader-funded, writer-owned, and like, it's the North Star for all of us. We're all like, okay, if we can do something even a fraction of that good, then we'll be set.
Yeah, can you talk more about that? Because obviously we understand the path that got you here, right? And that's the thing that I find to be the most intriguing about all this is the sort of socialized worker-owned element of all this. So talk to me about that, because I'm just a dirty socialist.
Well, same. Welcome to the club. Well, yeah. So I mean, like that, especially coming from a place like Geo Media, which owns Kotaku, also owns Deadspin, so like we have a commonality with Defector there, and like having all of this, this increasing corporate interference, our fates being tied to just like the whims of these executives who like sold the company or the site multiple times, like all of that definitely put us in the headspace of like, okay, this blows. And like even as we were part of a union there, which was really cool and helped I think ease a lot of the pain, it still didn't solve the problems. We were still sort of, stuck on the outside looking in with management making tons of questionable decisions, eventually culminated in a strike after our respective times. But yeah, so after all of that, we were just like, okay, what if we just make something and own it ourselves and do it on our own terms? Because, we kind of know best from having done this job for years and years and years.
There's a thing about being in a union is that a union always wants the company to do well because the union members want to do well. It's always a constant talking point that you hear whenever like private equity guys or owners are like, oh, they won't want the company to do well. It's like, no, you want the company to do well so you can hire more people who are also in the union. Like it's itself a symbiotic relationship. Not true for private equity. Private equity does not care if a company lives or dies. In fact, many of them bank on that.
Yeah.
If you
They have a way to make money even if it dies. Like they have.
Sometimes they're betting on it. Sometimes
Yes.
they'll over leverage a company like Toys R Us and just like sink it. And you know
that was the plan. Yes.
So for in the case of like, you know, there's this dynamic of like if you're dealing with private equity, there's a chance that they'll do that, and then like some of those tactics won't work anymore, the same way that a cooperatively owned place will. You know what I mean? And that's the idea. Is like anyway.
One last question, then I'll let Jan get on with this if he wants. Nathan, you ever feel bad for having better cute boy curly hair than me?
You know, I didn't want to say anything, but
Constant,
you know,
just constant jealousy.
blow too much smoke up Nathan's butt here, but it's
mean-
some slamming hair, my dog.
Look, yours is pretty good. It's
Thank you.
It's
That's
a
all I needed to hear.
relatively
Pretty good is what I'm aiming for.
What I
not
met
that distant of a second.
Yeah, fair enough.
When I met Nathan for the first time at last year's Game Awards, I was torn between commenting on his hair or his Coheed and Cambria tattoo, and I chose the latter. And I'm glad we covered all our bases. A couple.
There we go. Eventually, yes.
You know, a fun fact is that they just hosted a cruise, like
No way.
you know, in a boat that I was on like 2 weeks ago.
Hell yeah.
Oh wow!
Really?
Yeah, it
Was
wild.
it just them?
It was like a music festival at sea, basically. So it was
That's
them and a bunch of other
cool.
bands they brought along. But yeah,
Wow.
it was cool as hell.
Hell yeah!
Before I forget, call to action. Like, where can people go? What should they be doing? How can they best support?
Yeah, so I mean the website is just aftermath.site, and the way they can best support is by subscribing. Like we are entirely reader funded. We do not really have any other means of generating income, and so if you can subscribe, like that is the deciding factor in whether we can do this long term, turn this into a full-time job, all that, or whether we'll have to, you know, in some number of months or years sort of say, okay, well, we gave it our best shot and now it's time to scatter to the winds and try something else. So please subscribe.
Been a big fan of you guys for a long time. Really glad you guys are doing this. This is awesome.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, when you were listing off everyone involved with Aftermath, it was like, damn, that's the murderer's row of folks over there. Jeez.
We have done a lot of murders. I agree.
Okay, we'll cut that out of the pod. Don't worry, Nathan.
Don't worry, we got you.
Recently too, with very provable.
Yeah.
Is
Lots
that
of
why you were
evidence.
on a boat?
Our next target is Jim Spanfeller.
No, it isn't.
You're right.
Legal
Both
message,
checks
yes.
out.
How's everyone doing? Other than launching a new website, everyone's good. Everyone's
Yeah.
okay-ish.
Feeling
I said this before the show. I am trying to do walks before the first thing in the morning, and I'm doing it because I like it, and I think it's something I'll stick with because we got the gym over there, and I try to do it, but occasionally it's like, oh boy, that's I don't have time to do that in the middle of the day and get all sweaty. But a walk in the woods is pretty good. But I am looking for advice on how to not look scary in the woods because I am passing people who are frightened of me.
Well,
and I can tell, and I don't know what to do.
put the knives
Get
away.
my hair.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of ways you could be more scary. And
Okay,
like,
yeah, go full circle, yeah.
which is like, I guess you just look as though you're always vaguely out of focus and trundling.
Yeah.
Is there a
Always
way
be
to
right in
look
somebody's
like?
peripheral vision?
Is there a way to look like a cryptid? Is just
I do. I think I have a shuffle. I have a gait like a cryptid
Yes.
already.
There you
So
go.
I'm already on board. I think that's a big part of it is like they
With
see a big guy
fantastic hair.
shuffling. Yes, exactly.
fantastic hair.
Yeah.
I would bring dead leaves with you, so if everything's moist, you can create your own noise.
There you go.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
the
also
Well, you
drag some sort of like rope, and then behind you, like something wrapped in a blanket with the rope, and just that's
I got
probably maybe
Can you-
overkill, but
Can you affect a main accent and clean out a carburetor and say something cryptic about like the local, like something that happened locally?
Oh,
wow.
The train used to be coming through here. No,
no, but with a
longer.
Maine accent,
Yeah,
right?
These
Yeah.
woods got a lot of history, huh?
Yes, yes. Oh my god! Wow.
I've been learning so much today.
Absolutely.
Grab the easy answer. Just carry a hula hoop with you.
That's such a good idea. Yeah, that'll
The
work.
most terrifying thing.
Man,
Just a hula hooper in the
Watch out for this guy.
You'd get
He's
by
from
a
Maine.
gun.
Yeah.
It's like, man,
we'll
that guy's
put the gun
hips.
taped to it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm proud of you, Grub. It's the right time of year to be walking in the woods.
Oh,
in
it's real
my
nice. It's real
selfish
pretty out
opinion.
there. Yeah, absolutely.
Real nice. It's gonna get real cold. You know.
We went out to that cabin a little bit ago. And we just did hiking. That's the whole thing we did there. And I'm like, I got home and I told you guys I had that All Trails app, and I'm like, oh, there's one 2 minutes from my house that looks pretty nice, and that's the one I went to. It was really nice. I'm like, I'm just gonna do this every day. The kids go to school. I ain't got anything else to do until about 10 a.m., 11 a.m. So it's been great so far.
To be clear, don't do it in the summer. Don't go outside in the summer. You gotta go outside now.
No. Do it, Grub, and then you can start rocking bucket hats.
Okay.
That's what I do, and I'm not proud of it. I just
bucket hats are fine now. We've gone beyond it. There was a really long time where like you could only do it if you were like a Japanese style blogger or a veteran, and now now it's just nobody cares anymore. Now everyone's like, yeah, bucket hats are kind of fine.
Yeah,
Okay,
a bucket
feel
hat,
good.
cargo shorts, and my fanny pack. I think I'm gonna look real hot.
Yeah.
Just real
Zelda
hot.
T-shirt.
Zelda T-shirt. Yes, exactly.
hell yeah.
Bacalar, if you're ashamed of your bucket hat, just like flip up the top part of the brim, and then you'll just look cute. You know?
Yeah, well, of course, that's my go-to when I'm feeling like I'm not looking my best. But I've totally rationalized the entire thing now. I'm comfortable with myself. Anything to avoid the sun. You should see me on a beach. If I'm comfortable looking the way I do on the beach, I'm gonna be comfortable no matter what I do. So appreciate it though.
Before we get to the games, I had to take like a proper photo of myself or something, and I know we joke around about this a lot. Specifically, I've brought up this joke, but man, do I have DSLs, huh? I just got
Wow.
I just got big ass lips.
I didn't think. Well, do you want us to agree? Like,
I do agree. I've told
support
you
you.
many
Yeah, sure.
times in person.
Well, it's because I've said the joke to Grub. That is me giving permission to Grub to also joke about it as well. So Chris, Nathan, feel free anytime I see you in person. Just be like,
beautiful lips.
man, look at those.
What those lips do? Yeah.
What those lips do.
Yes, we're all jealous of your mustache. Okay.
No, it's not
There.
even the mustache. It's just like
No,
I was.
Well, it gets to hang out with it.
Yeah,
That's what
right.
we're saying.
The way it
Sure.
frames the lips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang
The
out
framing
all
is
day.
important.
Yo, any chapstick brand out there or lip balm, holler at your boy because I do need it.
Ooh yeah.
I need
Sponsored
it.
by NZXT and Carmex.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
like
a
lotion
tandem
for your
made in
lips.
heaven. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine a PC cooled by Carmex?
That's a
That would
weird
be disgusting.
substance. Yeah, I don't know if that works. I don't know if that
You guys
goes
Just
hear
get
about that-
stuck in the loop and set on
Yeah.
fire.
Did you hear about that
Petroleum-based.
Blizzard, that Diablo PC that was cooled by human blood that they were making?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that was
that's
weird.
That's a weird thing that they did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure Carmex smells awesome when heated.
Where did they get the blood?
Yeah, I don't think they answered these
That's
questions.
really I don't think they actually did it. I think that's just a joke or something like that. It was
yeah.
probably red water. Who cares? I don't think anybody's taking a test of it, but I would like to know where they got the blood.
Yeah. That's a good question.
This is an interesting question
pig,
that
you know.
that Aftermath, the website, could investigate.
Yes,
There you
I
go.
would 1,000,000%
please.
read
I'll pay
that.
for
Yes.
that. I'll buy that.
All
Yo,
right.
where did
Actually,
you get
that's what I
that
could
blood,
ask.
Blizzard?
I know exactly who I could ask. Oh no, I might actually look into this.
All right. It's
okay.
happening.
All right. I'm ready to
Writer's room, baby.
go to
Those are my
Aftermath.
favorite kinds of blogs, dude. Those are my favorite ones where it's just like you see something kind of weird that's like a PR thing. You just kind of pass over it. Did you see the bed they made for Starfield?
No.
There was like a gaming chair, and it was like sponsored by like Sealy Posturepedic or something like that. It was only in England, and it was like one of many confusing PR things that they make. And it looked really uncomfortable because it was dual joysticks, and it was like way too far away with an ultra wide monitor.
Oh, is this the one where it's like you're kind of like leaning back and it's like the joysticks are like off to the side like this?
Yeah, like the way nobody would play that game.
Yeah.
And like also way too far away. And like you can tell it was like, oh, okay, like a mattress brand wants to do like an integration that will never leave England. Or like Gamescom. And it's like, those are always my favorite because you can tell what they originally envisioned and then what came out. And
Sure,
it's
yeah.
always really interesting.
Yeah, and there's the eternal question of who got to keep it. Where's that sitting?
Where
now?
is it now? Yes.
Yeah.
I want to know where the Evolve statue went. The one that was like,
Yeah, the one that
I
was at all
remember
the
that.
events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was huge. And it's definitely in a dumpster, but like in parts.
It's probably lost at sea, I'd say. You know?
Oh yeah, almost certainly.
That
I
sounds
think I
like
saw
another
it on Tom
article.
Cruise.
That sounds like
That's
another
also
article.
like imagine you just see the head of that pop up. It's like you'd think it was a kaiju.
Yeah, this is how we know there are no good like billionaires. Because if I had that kind of money, I would be buying these things and just hiding them in random places in the woods, so that when I was walking out there, I would get scared. I was
So then
thinking
you
that
wouldn't
today.
be
I'm
the
like,
scariest person.
I want to get one of those 12, 13-foot werewolves from Home Depot and just put them up in the woods somewhere and just
Wait.
see what happens.
Wait, they're selling werewolves? They were selling
No,
werewolves?
There's
They got 'em.
skeletons.
They
There's a
had
big
no,
skeleton.
well, guys, we're so far beyond the skeleton. The skeletons was like V1.
It's very past that. It's very out of vogue for sure.
Really?
Okay,
Yeah.
this guy's too cool for school, but it's like, but listen, I still love these things.
The Witch is amazing. Those came out late in the season.
Yeah,
Those are amazing.
We just got Jack Skellington. We got a hot deal on that, so we got that for next year.
didn't
that will
real-
always be fine.
The Halloween meta has changed.
The Witch, okay, stands on like the trail of smoke it leaves in its wake. Like
Ooh.
they did some real fun optical illusion, and that's the weight is camouflaged in this. It's really cool.
it's the one that does like when you look, it does look like it's flying.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
That's pretty neat.
All right.
Yeah. So buy that now.
A coupon code giant skeletons.
Giant bacalar. Yep.
Giant backline.
Oh.
Video games. Oops. There we go.
There it is.
There's the button. Go XLR. Fantastic piece of product, programs, software, hardware. Great.
I also have one, and it has a little like button you can press to like make bleep sounds for when you curse.
Yep.
And I thought I'd use that all the time, and instead I just tell people about it.
Yeah. Bacalar presses it when he's too high to do the show in the middle of the show. So, yeah.
Oh,
there you
well,
go.
wow. Wake and
I-
bake.
Just means don't call on me. That's all it means.
I have a baby face because I spent way too much money.
Wait. What is that?
RME, they just make really good interfaces.
Okay.
It also has one of the only non-annoying patching things like voice meter style that I've ever seen in any product. It just works. It's so
That's the thing I'm worried about losing when the Go XLR eventually deprecates and like stops working fully. I need that stuff so bad at this point. Voice meter, I'll
hate voice
use
meter.
it, but I hate it too. Like I'll use it if I have to, but I don't want to go back to it.
this is all it's all hardware done, and like
Okay.
yeah, the RME babyface is like a great thing, but it's also like $1,000, and like it has the problem is I had like a duet.
That's
and I
Daddy
couldn't go
Fandom's
down.
problem. That's
That's fair. That's fair.
fair.
But it's just the patching is really good, and under that, the Modu M2 is my favorite for like $200.
Okay,
roughly.
I'm gonna hit you up when this thing actually
Damn.
breaks.
Oh, a little tech corner here. I
Hey,
like
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, no,
I
Chris
like
knows,
this.
I
Chris knows
tech
his
blog.
shit on this front so well.
Yes.
In fact, all the stuff that I have, this microphone included, was a Chris recommendation.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yep.
Baby
All right.
face. Okay. All right.
Yep, add that to the wish list. There you
A
go.
little search in there, a little capex, maybe. A little
Yeah.
Can't
Jeff
believe
Grubb.
they stole that term from wrestling though, babyface. That's a real shame.
Famously,
Hey, wait, I
the
have a
wrestling
question.
term.
Yes.
Is it pronounced kayfabe or kefabe? How do you say that?
Well, it's the
Kayfabe.
latter. The latter.
It's kayfabe.
Okay.
You know,
Okay,
you were
cool.
too excited. You were trying to work him.
Kafabi is amazing, though, and we should totally make that a thing. Look, I don't know next to anything about wrestling. I just know it
It's-
because I hang around these freaks all the time.
It sounds like a small Italian car that you would like. That would be a hard, like difficult to import. Like
Yes,
what's the, like an Abrath?
Uh huh.
Gotta get my hands on that Kafabi.
Yeah.
Well, Bacalar, don't worry. You work with Grubb and I, and not only are we poisoned by wrestling, we're poisoned by mispronouncing everything.
That's true,
Everything.
too. Yeah.
Everything. Yep.
Jeff Grubb, you've been playing Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah, I've been playing it on the site, and we have people who haven't watched. I started the story from Mortal Kombat 9, and then I did 10, 11. Now we're doing 1, and I'm about maybe two-thirds, three-quarters of the way through the story. And I gotta say, I really like this campaign. I'm really into the story mode in a way that I wasn't into 9, 10, or 11. I thought 9's was kind of fun. I think that 10's has a kind of a fun G.I. Joe vibe, and then 11 was like a bad Avengers movie in a lot of ways. This one is, I can follow the story. They are getting very mature with their blocking and with their with like actually setting up the action scenes, and then the dialogue scenes, like the camera's moving in an interesting way. They don't linger too long on boring stuff. They really got their footing, I think, with this one, to the point where I really recommend playing this story mode if you're kind of into any of these. I haven't played too much of the actual head-to-head multiplayer stuff, but of the characters I've messed around with, it's been pretty cool. I like Reptile a lot. I don't like Smoke so much, but like all the headliners, Sub-Zero and Scorpion, they've been fun to play with. But I'm just like pretty impressed overall with this package. I think that some people mentioned that the latter half of the story kind of loses it. I think I'm kind of getting to that point, and I'm still totally on board with what they're doing. So yeah, I've been pretty happy with it, and we should be finishing that up next week. So if people want to tune in to see what that looks like, that'll probably be next Monday-ish. We'll see.
Grub, when I tuned in, you were just getting to the portion of the story where Megan Fox is introduced. How do you feel about her performance? And I know Mortal Kombat has been doing stunt casting since like Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, I honestly just end up feeling bad for her because it's clear that she didn't get the direction she needed, and they didn't really care to pay her the extra money to have her stick around to do a second or third take, is what it really feels like. And so you get this person who has done great roles before, come and do something that, voice acting, maybe something that she hasn't done a lot of. And then the result is just this really dead delivery that does sound really out of place, even for a game that is going for a B-movie vibe. Like across the board, that's what they're going for. This one still stands out. It's not as bad as a shithead Ronda Rousey. Like that was super bad. But I still you're going to hear it and be like, whoa, what is happening there? I'll say it's not ruining anything, but not even close. It's kind of like, oh man, what was that line read? That's going to be memorable. And it is some of the most memorable stuff in the game, as she just says these crazy lines with no affectation whatsoever.
And I believe Turbo Sean mentioned this while you were streaming yesterday. But Megan Fox doesn't do any of the combat grunts, right?
That's right. Yes, they got a different, specific professional voice actor to do the stunt grunts.
Grunt?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So all of the
Grunt double.
Yeah, Grunt
Grunt
double.
double.
There we go.
So good.
Okay,
Thank
bravo.
So, and that stuff is fantastic. And then she'll get done doing the fighting in the cutscene, and then you could tell the lines about to start up, and you could just hear the shift back over to Megan Fox, and it's pretty rough. But I love Megan Fox, Jennifer's Body, one of an all-time great movie. I don't think this is really a reflection on her in any way.
I didn't think you were going to say I love Megan Fox today.
I say it every day. When I look in the mirror, that's what I say.
After I do my woods walk, I go.
Exactly. No, the entire time during the woods walk, I repeat it to myself out loud.
That's
I don't
why
get why people are scared of me.
so scared, Grub.
That doesn't make sense.
Hey, I'm one of the people that enjoyed her run on New Girl. I'll say it. I'll be brave and say it. I've been playing Like a Dragon, The Man Who Erased His Name. And I had to write this down because I constantly forget this title because it is obscenely long. It reminds me of a early 2000s Panic at the Disco song title. But I hate describing a game like this, but this is like the Miles Morales of the Yakuza series that I think may not be the best entry point for someone, but maybe someone because it throws you deep into the story. This takes place in between Yakuza Like a Dragon and then the next game that is coming out, Infinite Wealth.
That's right. It basically says what Kiryu's doing during not Like a Dragon. Yes.
And it's interesting because it throws you back into the whole Yakuza world, but they give Kiryu a bunch of dumb items. Like you eventually unlock a drone that fights with you. So as you're punching dudes, beating people up in Kamurocho, you just have two drones floating around you. And it's not like a combat drone, like an airstrike or anything. It is just like a shitty DJI style drone, just like booping dudes.
Booping dudes.
And then you get an exploding cigarette after a while that just acts like a little grenade. But I say it's like a Miles Morales because it is so condensed. I'm about 5 hours into it, but I've been reading that it is exponentially shorter than a lot of
10
other.
hours.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, hey, I might be near the end then. Shit.
Yeah.
But I akin this to if you want to try a new type of cuisine, I wouldn't go all the way to the Michelin star version of it. Like, say you want to go get, you want to try crab or lobster. Don't go to the special seafood place that smells like seafood and just has people in dungarees and an old man wearing a red beanie that just pulled a net of Dungeness crab out. Don't do that just yet. Just go get a crab cake at the Red Lobster or something.
Oh,
Something to try it out. You know, just take a little taste. I still don't think, if you were Yakuza curious though, and you want to dive in and learn the rich lore of it, I don't think I can recommend this as an entryway, because I think Zero does that really well.
Oh yeah, Zero's the best one in general. It's just the best game in the series.
Yeah. And you know, if you aren't clicking with Yakuza Like a Dragon's turn-based combat, like this is more of that. I think it's it feels a little bit better. They introduced another fighting style. But man, it's just I love popping back into this world and just encountering all of the dumb side stuff. And I say dumb, and I don't mean that to be negative in any way. It's like dumb fun
It
stuff.
knows it's dumb. Yeah.
And I love, like, the Like a Dragon, the Yakuza series, they do this so well of balancing like very heavy story beats of Kiryu coming terms with his age and his like morality and everything he's done in his life. And then afterwards, like, all right, let's go play Mahjong for a little bit. Let's go do some karaoke. And then, you know what? We're gonna befriend someone at this karaoke bar.
Yeah.
And this is the literal actual story of my life. These are the things that I do. Mostly coming to terms with my age, but also a lot of karaoke.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. I think Miles Morales is a good like touch point, because this it's similar, and like they've admitted like, hey, this was going to be DLC. They said it was specifically, we saw it was going to be a DLC. Like, we'll just add a little bit extra to it and put it out as its own thing. We think that's fun, and I like the idea of the expand-alone game. There's a lot of cool things to be done with that. I do think that usually makes them more accessible. So it's interesting that they did that, and then also made it a very like. It's not contained. It is connected to every other part of the story, and you kind of need to know that stuff. So I still might mess around with it, even though I've kind of only played a bit of Zero and then a little bit of Like a Dragon. But I might just like, to test the waters with this, just to see how I'm feeling about the the gameplay and the characters and all that stuff, and then watch here's what's happened previously, and then hopefully carry that momentum in and go back and play Zero. And I am looking forward to the Infinite Wealth. So maybe kind of carry that forward as well. So we'll see. But I'm glad they're doing so many cool things with this franchise. Yeah,
I do think that it's doing a standalone for this, for The Man Who Erased His Name. It kind of does assume that you already know a lot of the existing systems and story. So the onboarding process isn't as slow as it normally is with like the proper numbered Yakuza games, where it takes a while to ramp up and everything. Here, you get into the thick of it very quickly, which I enjoy. Also, man, Kiryu, what a fucking stud. That dude, Jesus Christ. In his old age with a little salt and pepper in his hair, wow. I'd let that man beat me up, or I'd buy him a drink at karaoke.
okay.
And why not both?
Not mutually exclusive.
One leads to the other.
Absolutely. That's just a good night.
Yeah.
I just keep remembering every time Yakuza comes up, like the one game I traded in that I was like, should I have traded that in? Which is the zombie-based Yakuza game.
Yeah.
Which everybody forgets, because it's just like, it's like a weird, like, it's like a Marvel what if situation where it's like, hey, what happened if the undead did come down to Kamurocho? It's just like, I don't know if it's good. It's probably not very good. It's just,
I think people don't necessarily like it, but for the longest time, I was under the impression that was just Yakuza 6. And I'm like, that's a weird series. There's
weird way to end
zombies.
this. Yeah.
All right, cool. It's like, oh no, then it's a guide of its own. So, but I think people in general don't love it, but I still think it's cool that exists. Exactly. Yes, it's
That's
a cool
the thing.
thing to
Is
have.
like I can't own the only games I still keep are ones that are like not on any marketplace that are going to be a pain in the ass to track down. So it's like, yeah, like I have Remember Me, and I'm not going to play Remember Me ever again, but I have it because I don't know if it's probably somewhere, but like,
That's Don't Nod, remember?
That's
me?
Don't Nod, yeah.
We were just talking about that, right?
We were just talking about that, I think, yeah.
Grub brings up Don't Nod a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean,
A lot.
I got it's on the list right here, Jusant.
Yeah. But we're not going to talk about that right now.
Yeah,
Of course
wait your
not.
turn.
God,
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm sorry. I'm
the
sorry. I apologize.
humanity. Come on. You're just piling in here, just stumbling all over each other with these failed segues, Grub, because you've been playing Humanity.
That's right. So we did Bombcast Revengeance last week, and I asked, hey, what's a game from this year that you wish people would play before we talk about Game of the Year
I
stuff?
know that we talked about that a couple days ago, but I forgot again that Humanity came out this year.
Yes, and so Lucy said Humanity. I'm like, oh, that's the one I was trying to think of. So I got that loaded on the Steam Deck, and I've been playing Humanity, and boy, that game rules. That's a real fun game. I think I would describe it as like the way that like Picross 3D is to Picross. I think Humanity probably is to Lemmings, but I just like the aesthetic that they're going for of this just huge horde of human beings coming out of a portal and then falling off a cliff. It's the kind of thing where I'm like, this is just a good visual, to the point where I'm going to show this to my kid. I know immediately she's going to laugh. And I showed her and she cracked up because these people are just falling. She loved
you got
it.
laughing as a response from a child?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
I got existential dread. I got, who are these people? Where are they going? Where are all their mommies and daddies? And why don't they have faces?
She's 4. She doesn't care if people don't have faces yet. So we're still good there.
You got in right before it all gets real. Okay. So keep going while you can.
I think my kids are just broke because I bet the 6-year-old would find all this funny. I haven't shown her yet, but yeah, I think they love people falling down. They just do.
Yeah. If it wasn't for that dog, there would be therapy involved. I guarantee you.
So yeah, I think so. The game is these people are coming out of a portal. You are this white light version of a Shibu Inu. There's a name I can't say. And you set down these little markers on the ground, telling them where to go or to jump or whatever. And it's like it sounds pretty simple. It gets pretty complicated, but overall, it actually is like, no, you understand what you need to do. Get these people to the exit, and you need to get a certain mass to the exit. And then throughout the level, there's these goldies, and these are like these big golden statues. And you need to get the horde of people to go through the goldies to convince them to walk with you and get them to the exit. And those are like the bonus objectives. And really what it comes down to is it's just really satisfying to have these intersecting lines of this conga line of people, from over here they're walking just straight, and then from this other side they're doing this long jump, and I gave them like this special bonus so that they do an even longer, floatier version of the long jump. And so they're jumping over the entire level over this people that are walking down here, and then up here I have them like falling down, and I have them falling down real slowly, so they're hitting the platform perfectly and walking right into the exit. And it just looks really cool. It feels really satisfying, to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, I think I'm liking this game. And then every time I turn on the Steam Deck to play something, I have it left on from last time. Like, oh yeah, I'm just going to keep playing this. And that's been the last, couple of days. So yeah, I'm just really into it. I'm glad I've gone back to it because it's a busy year, a lot of good games, but it's like on the bubble of like my top 10 when I kind of think about it in those terms. And yeah, just really enjoying it.
God, another game I have to check out. Thanks a lot, Grub.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's good. It was really, and I think it's still on. Didn't you say it was on like PlayStation Plus or something? Right?
It might be on PlayStation.
I think
I
I
a PlayStation
canceled that.
VR game. Yeah.
You think you canceled that?
I think I canceled that. I don't know. Nathan, Chris, anything you've been playing you want to chat about? I mean, I know starting a website's a lot to do, but any games you got going on underneath that?
I mean, for me, actually, Chris, because you've been working on a blog for the site that is based around a game that you've been playing a lot of.
I don't even know if you can call it a blog anymore. I think it's just a feature at this point. It's like really fucking long. It's really long. I've been playing Afterlife.
Oh.
The 1996 LucasArts Heaven and Hell simulator.
Oh wow.
Okay, hell yeah.
That came with everybody's like that 5-pack where it was like Sam and Max.
Right.
There were 2 of them, I think. There was one that was like the older games and one was the newer one. This was the Day of the Tentacle one. Here's the thing about Afterlife. Like 3 people have beaten that game. And now 4 because I have.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because it's one of the most confusing games in history. In a way that I find so funny. Because here's the thing. Okay. SimCity 2000 comes out. I'll make this very, very much faster. SimCity 2000 comes out. Everyone knows how to play SimCity 2000. You put a bunch of 3x3s down. You put a subway system down. Electricity, yada, yada. It's pretty self-explanatory. What if you had to play 2 games of SimCity at the same time, and you had to design them in opposite ways of efficiency, and also there's like 20 other mechanics, and also you're playing a game of Sim Earth, but there's 7 different zones instead of 3 for the 7 deadly sins and heavenly virtues,
of course,
and then a generic one. and you have an impact on how belief structures happen, so you can influence the sins. And okay, there's a bunch of stuff. Like the real thing was they didn't tell you that 2x2 structures are more efficient than 3x3 structures, which nobody would have considered unless they did the math. Because every time you're in SimCity, you're like, I'll make 3x3s. I'll make 3x3s. Every city building game is like that. But yeah, it's just full of puns. Every one of the sins and tortures, sins and punishments and like rewards are all done really funny. Like there's one that's just, and they have these like weird like art styles where they're all aliens. One of them is literally just there's an itch you can't get. And the illustration is these like weird aliens who are not humans. They're called embos, ethically mature biological organisms. That that it's just them in like a straitjacket with like boxing gloves on, trying to get to their back. There's one that's like, what do you call it? Like just a nice afternoon. It's like, oh yeah, remember when you were 6? There was the nice afternoon, and like. I've actually reached out to the designer who designed Sam & Max, and it's like nobody has talked about this game. I really want to get art, so I'm asking him questions. But I have been going insane trying to beat this game, and I got the end state, which are called love domes and omnibulges, which are basically the equivalent of what do you call them? Arcologies in SimCity. Yeah, and when you that's when you know you beat SimCity 2000. You got arcologies. It's easy from there on.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a really funny game. It's mechanically very funny too, because like, you know, like if you influence peace instead of wrath, like the conflict rate on your planet goes down, and so there's fewer deaths. You can actually influence whether or not people believe in reincarnation, which actually increases your population in different ways. Like,
oh wow,
there's like, you know, just entire ways that this game is doing things that are like mechanically, because it's basically like a Baha'i simulator. Like everyone believes what they get. So if you believe in hell, you only go into hell. So it's like a weirdly universalist take, which is just that like it's Dante's Inferno done in SimCity 2000 style, but also like weirdly Baha'ist and self-deterministic, and also very funny. It's one of the funniest games I've ever seen.
Wow. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
We gotta play Afterlife.
I'm going to. Here's the thing. There is one fact for this game. One, and it is from 1996.
Written by Matt Rory.
It is on GameFAQs, and it is not the most efficient way to beat the game. The most efficient way to beat the game is one post on the GameFAQs forum from 14 years later, where someone's like, hey, I found a slightly better way to do that, and I can't contact the guy who did the original FAQ. So I'm just going to post it here.
Jesus.
It's like a fucking Usenet group with like an EDU is like the guy who wrote it. And
incredible.
It's $6 on Steam and GOG.
So it's like readily available. Okay, well, I'm getting it right
although
now.
it is just a DOSBox front end, it's really funny.
Sure,
You'll just
that's
see
fine.
DOSBox like pop up. You can, if you need to get higher than like 1000 by whatever resolution, you can just change the INI file. Although I think it breaks the sound.
All right, there's 4 games named Afterlife. I'm gonna go with the one with the busiest logo here. Yep, that was right. Okay, there we go.
And you get what is it? Area Good Halo and Jasper Wormwood are your angel and demon, and they're your like, you can't do this, you know, they're your advisors, and they're fully voiced and they're really funny. But I'm writing this piece so that people know how to play this game, because it is, oh yeah, and if you go bankrupt, the most important thing, you are not God, and it's not a God game as a result. You are a demiurge, which, if you know, Neoplatonism or Gnosticism is a distinct concept. It's not God, it's just the guy who's like heaven's mayor. And so you have stakes, because if you're in a God game, it's like, you know, omnipotence is the problem getting mechanically with omnipotence. And so literally the powers that be, they're called, can just like say, oh, you're bankrupt, and they send 4 surfers on a wave of lava. The 4 surfers of the Apocalypto to come and like ride your like a wave of lava through your afterlife, and that's just like the like, you fucked up, you're bankrupt, enjoy.
Is one of them Patrick Swayze, one of these surfers? Are they the guys from?
No, it's death. It's the four horsemen. It's just they're on boogie boards instead, because it's developed by a guy in California in like 1996. And yeah, if you use too many cheats, the Death Star comes out and destroys your afterlife.
What?
Wait,
I did
The
see
actual
this.
Death Star, like to which
Yeah.
they
The
probably
actual,
did not
well,
have
yes,
the-
it was Lucas.
Oh, yeah,
Arts that
Lucas
did
Arts,
that. Yeah,
that's
they had
right.
the right to it. It says
Oh.
if you use the money tree too much, it says I feel a disturbance in the force, and then it just starts nuking everything.
Well, this is incredible.
Man,
Yeah,
games used to
it's-
be way better.
It
I'm
was
sorry.
impo-
It was
well,
a
the
good
thing-
year, but
The
1996
thing about
the
it
best
is, I think part of the reason why people haven't played it is that you could only play it as of like 6 years ago, because like you'd need DOS box. Because like the thing about the Scum games, part of their appeal is that like you could use Scum VM.
Scum VM.
Scum games
forever
were
old.
built.
Yes.
Were built to be cross-platform. You know what I mean? They were built to be done it. So like Scum VM was this emulator that would just like work on anything. You could like get it working on a Dreamcast perfectly, Sam and Max. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, this was not, because they had to specially roll it, and the art's fucking weird. It's all these like strange, like pig-nosed humanoid
looking
creatures.
at
It
it.
kind of looks like Oddworld.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a fucking funny game. And other than that, I'm playing Alan Wake, which is like I think my game of the year.
It's
my
good.
man,
we got
my
another
man,
one.
My man.
Got one person on my friends list here who on Steam who's playing any games, and that person's name is Chris Person, and he's played 20 hours so far. So, all right, that's doable. When this feature comes out, I'm gonna read it and then we'll play it. That sounds like a good time.
I would love to.
You're gonna start a trend.
Yeah, right. You're gonna bring it back. Also, wait, I want to quickly make a brief aside because I've been following chat, and a thing that I kind of thought would happen happened, which is some people got confused and they're like, "Oh yeah, the name of the website that they just started is Afterlife."
No.
And it's like,
Oh wow,
No,
yeah, good
it's
point.
That
Good
crossed my
thinking.
mind. That crossed
yeah,
my
it's
mind.
aftermath.site.
Yes.
Yes, it's
But
It is
thank
very
you to the
funny.
people who are like trying
Post-math.
to get everyone else to go to our site. I appreciate it.
I'm just gonna put it in chat right now.
Yeah.
Nathan, what have you been playing, if anything?
Yeah, so I in the past like month or so have become like a hardcore Cyberpunk convert, which I never
Hell
thought
yeah.
I would, because I played that game in 2020 and bounced off it pretty hard. Like I put like, I don't know, 25 hours into it that year, and like the glitches weren't even that bad for me. I just, it
It was just
setting
an
didn't
okay
really
game.
bother.
It was just an
Yeah.
okay game.
It was
Yep.
fine. Mechanically, it was just not really doing anything. I tried to like stealth it and just didn't have much fun. It was like very rudimentary in that regard. It wasn't really that interesting. And then also like a big thing for me is I think like I went into it wanting this more coherent world and story. And like when all the side quests felt so tonally different and so
Yeah.
like not really in service of any particular idea or message, I was just like put off by that. And so then like I returned to it this year because of Phantom Liberty, and like just kind of threw out all of those expectations and just played it on its own terms. I'm like, oh, this game rules. It's actually like, very ambitious, very well put together. I love like because I'd like been playing Starfield for a little bit and didn't really like that very much. And like going to Cyberpunk where they have these like characters who like move and talk to you and like
Yeah.
you can sort of move around them or sit next to them or whatever else, and it, like just feels very alive. Was like this revelation to me. I was like, wow, this game just like
Has an
put-
animation system. Yeah.
well, yeah, has and they put so much thought into how it functions, how
Mhm.
you as the player can orient yourself around it, and both like watch a cutscene play out, but also feel like you are involved in it, like you are actually physically present. And then also just like some of the side quests or whatever, others are really fun and interesting and cool. Some of the characters or whatever, others are great. Like it has some peaks and valleys to it, but like overall, it's one of those games where like I'm trying to savor it now. I'm like, I've finished a lot of the side quests. I can tell that like the game's sort of being like, okay, you should move into the main quest to kind of wrap things up. And I'm like, but I don't want to.
Is this the base game that you're playing?
Yeah, it's
the
the base
updated
game right now.
Okay.
I'm saving
Cool.
Phantom Liberty for when I've already gotten one of the endings. I've heard that's the better way to do it because
Oh,
I guess
cool.
like the Phantom Liberty ending cuts out a lot of characters and sort of content from the main game. Like it doesn't really touch on them as much. So I don't want to get that ending first because I want something that's more true to like
Yeah.
a main game playthrough.
Yes,
But yeah.
that's what I ended up doing when I was playing Phantom Liberty. Is I just took my save from beating the game, took it into Phantom Liberty, and that's a perfectly okay way to do that. I know they
Yeah.
they were like, hey, just start a new game in Phantom Liberty. I'm like, no, I'll just do it this way, and it's worked out perfectly fine so far.
They've done a really good job in that game of integrating edge runners, not just like the lore or whatever, but like what I mean is like melee builds feel good in that game now,
Mhm.
and they feel like how they look in edge runners. Like when you actually do something in that game with a melee build, like you go psycho mode, you like jump off your motorcycle, kill everyone with the katana, then jump back on the motorcycle. Like that is anime. Cyberpunk is just
Yeah.
anime
Yeah.
at its best. It's just the reason. There's a reason why Japan was so good at it, and why so many Americans were bad. Is because they were just doing anime. They were doing mecha stuff, and that's what it gets. And they've always had this in them. That's the frustrating thing about it. The frustrating thing about any time you see like a big game like Starfield or one of the Fallout games is like, you're like, man, I know you got like 5 guys in there that are all writing the fun side quests, and if you could just make it all the fun side quest, that would be good. And they did that exactly once, and it's called Fallout New Vegas.
Right.
Exactly. Yes.
But yeah, no, I mean, speaking on the like the melee combat though, like I've been playing like a samurai like sword build, just like straightforward, you know,
It's
like
really cool.
Yeah.
it's incredibly cool. It feels really good. The only thing that I had to acclimate to is, again, because they put this level of detail into the world, and because the world feels so lived in, you know, like I go on these murder sprees and I'm like, I don't know if I feel good about any of this. Like, I know your character's supposed to be kind of amoral, but it can be hard to gel sometimes, like the compassion with which they are able to approach certain situations. And then like, oh yeah, I also just killed 50 dudes. And like, you know, that's true of a lot of video games, but I feel like in this one, that tension never quite dissipates. And like, you know, the game even used to have like more non-lethal options. Like now, even if you like, this is the weirdest thing. If you like stealth choke somebody out, and then if you put them in a bin, putting them in the bin is fatal. It even says that as a pop-up. Like when you hover over a bin you can put somebody into, it's like lethal. It's like, what?
Yeah,
I'm just putting them in the trash.
I do wonder. I was wondering why they de-emphasized that stuff, and it was. I think maybe they think just killing people is more fun.
Yeah.
And I think I made that choice. But
yeah, because they also had like an ocular implant you could get where all of your melee hits would be non-lethal. They just took that out entirely. It's not in the game anymore. Yeah. I think that it was their kind of like way of saying that this was always a half-baked system on their part.
right.
And they're like, you know, there's just not room for us to really like do this the way we wanted to. You know, I hope that shows up more in like Cyberpunk 2078 or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah, I think they came to the realization that they weren't making the game where you could play any way you want and do it anyway. We're like, no, they have some things that are really fun and lean into those. And within the builds you have a lot of choice about how to approach any confrontation with enemies. But beyond that, they don't need to be trying a million other things outside of those core competencies, and that's really kind of where 2.0 got this game. And I've been enjoying it when I've gone back to it a bunch.
Fantastic. God, I just feel like I have to climb up this mountain before we get to Game of the Year. Speaking about climbing a mountain, Chef Grub, I want you to pronounce this name. The name of this game.
Jusant.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
There you go.
Hey,
yeah, no problem.
Better than I thought you'd do. So good job.
Way worse. Jusant is a mountain climbing game. It's you play as a little fella who doesn't talk a lot, and he's got a rope, and he's got some of those things you put with those pegs there. You put them in their mountains. Piton, yes. And you got a small handful of those, and he's got hands that get tired if you try to climb for too long. So you got to get up to that next rest point so you can fully rest and recover. We played a bit of this over the Steam Next Fest over the summer. It's still that game. There is a little bit extra that wasn't in there, like as I'm redoing some of these sections, where now you could do this sort of call to nature, like this like actual like literal call from your character, and there are some elements in the stage that will grow and overtake certain elements. So now you could climb on those, and those can either act as shortcuts to go back down and get back up, or they actually are like the gates to unlock the next part, so you can climb even higher. But you know, this is a don't nod game. This is a studio I've always kind of admired mostly from a distance. I've had some good experience with some of their games. They're usually not making stuff that I'm like running to go play it, but I have no issue with them. I'm like, I could see from a distance they're doing some cool stuff. So for them to make a game that feels very much like my shit, and for it to hit really well, is very exciting. I just like moving characters around 3D spaces, having to figure out how to get them from point A to point B, and have a game be very confident in its setting and in its visuals and in its stylings to be like, this is just a cool place to spend time in. And so you'll get to these segments where, all right, I am up on this next ledge. We are gonna take a second, go look at this thing, and then the game's gonna be like, no, we're gonna really look at stuff. And then it takes camera control away from you and just starts looking at these little vignettes of the world, and it's really pretty and moving and bordering on emotional, because it's like This is a place that was once lived in, now mostly abandoned. You could tell that it's like, the mountainside villages that you might recognize from around the world. It's like this used to be a place that people were in. What happened here? And I think I'm slowly discovering maybe what happened here. But for the most part, I'm just enjoying the ascension of going up this mountain, and it's very good at that. It's got really good physics, and for me, like, we talk about games as art a lot, and because we're idiots, and we I think we fall into this trap of that means telling stories. That means being narratives. And for me, I've always been like, yeah, I get that, but like games are systems, and they, so you, like, in the same way like jazz doesn't have to tell a story, video games don't have to tell a story, even though this one is. Really what I'm looking for is something that can help me play with my interaction with the world. Like, I live on Earth. I have to deal with the systems of gravity and physics constantly. So give me a space that can be the poetic version of that. And this game is very much doing exactly that. And it clicks with me really hard. So I'm a big fan of it so far. I don't think it's necessarily going to be for everybody, but I believe it's on Game Pass. So it's probably worth checking out at the very least.
Going off that real quick, Grub, as games as art and not necessarily the narrative side of that argument, I think something like Tony Hawk is art, just in the way that like the systems, and it feels it feels silly to say this, but it's like you're playing an instrument almost, right? Like you're firing off commands, and like what you're doing, and
it is the jazz of skateboarding.
It's the jazz. Yeah, there you go.
Well, I mean that's what it's like Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Like, it's like you are playing with these other great players, and the players being the developers setting up this orchestra of a game, and they left the space open for you to slot in and decide, all right, now here's how I'm going to play along with them. And it's a good feeling. Oh, sorry, cut you off, Nathan. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, this is so pithy in comparison, that the soundtrack for Tony Hawk is the pop punk of skateboarding.
Oh, man. Jeff Bacalar, have you been playing anything you want to talk about?
Alan Wake.
Okay.
Just Alan Wake.
Just
all day, every day. I'm not done yet. I don't know why I'm not done yet. I think I've just really taken my time getting all up in those crevices of Alan Wake 2, trying to get my wife to stay awake and watch it. She keeps falling asleep on the couch, and she's like, wake me up for the cutscenes and all the I'm like, every part of this is narrative. This is all happening now. You have to see me open all of these lockers and see what kind of batteries are in there. You have to watch every single moment of that.
It's Duracell again. Look at this.
She's super into it, but like also I choose to play it too late for her, I think. But no, I'm very much in love with this, and that's really all I'm playing. I got back into Spider-Man 2 as well because I talked my kid into sitting shotgun and not being scared that Kraven's going to stab another scientist in the neck with a syringe.
It happens.
So
it's a part of life.
Yeah. There's a scene in that game where you have to where you feed a tiger a drugged piece of meat. Mm-hmm. And he was just like closing his eye. He was just like, I'm like, dude, do you really think this game is gonna let a tiger eat Spider-Man? And that just didn't resonate with him. I think he still thought it was a viable option for the way this is gonna go. So we're making our way through it. He's not playing Alan Wake though, for sure.
Based on the things that you've said about your kid's reaction to the various games you've played, how old is your child? What are you?
That's for you to guess, Nathan. What do you think?
I mean, I could guess anywhere between like 7 and a teenager.
Yeah, no, he's 8, so you're in that window. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, are they doing okay?
Yeah, 100%. Like, he absolutely loves video games. He just he's
just easily frightened.
Yeah, he just loves Spider-Man, and then he saw Kraven stab a man in the neck with a syringe with green liquid in it, and he was just like, well,
this is something Dib just needs to know is going to happen in real world. So he's got to learn it now.
And now he's just like, I need you to go into the bathroom first, Dad, because it's entirely possible Kraven's there.
In there.
And I was like, nah,
I mean, look, Kraven uses the bathroom too.
That's right.
Exactly.
You must acknowledge this.
He says, Dad, Kraven also shits, therefore I am terrified.
Nathan and Chris, do you guys think that Dib is what's what we call Jeff's kid should watch Jaws? Do you think he's old enough to watch the movie Jaws? Backlar, you don't get a say on this.
8.
8.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
But here's
Chris,
why.
we were
Here's
getting
why.
along.
Okay,
No, here's
okay.
why. Here's why. Because I grew up when I grew up,
Uh-huh.
and that is they just showed you Terminator and Aliens when you were a
They
child.
showed you it all.
Yeah, that's
man.
true.
They showed
But
you a
like-
good movie. They showed you a good, albeit violent movie, and it was like a little hidden treat thing that you got. And then it's like, okay, but this has taste, and that's why there were action figures of it, because they didn't have. And I know this because they didn't have like emotionally stunted adults that would buy those yet, like to the degree that they could do it. That's why there were alien figurines, is because they were like, children are watching these, or at least see them at the video store and would like to have them. And I don't know. I'm not a parent. You can do whatever you want.
It's just so, here's what's selfishly annoying about that, Chris. We have another member of this website who also argues that an 8-year-old should watch Jaws, but you have such a lucid argument for it, whereas he is just like, I don't know what anything is. We should show horror to babies. So
I think E.T.'s a scarier movie to me for some reason. Like
yeah,
I
mean that's fair.
the whole part where like he finds E.T. and like he's
It's
washing
fucked
the
up.
dishes, and then you just hear him and it sounds like a pig screaming. Like it's just it's
the
a
sound
really
design is messed
it's
up.
a really troubling movie
Yeah.
that I don't like, but that I respect because it's so troubling. and
Sure.
weird.
Right. Well, yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like the movies that did a number on me when I was a kid were not the ones that were like overtly violent or whatever.
No.
It was the existentially upsetting ones.
Yes.
There was
Like,
somebody
I mean,
linked to
the Matrix messed me up when it like first came out.
Well, how old were
I-
you when you saw The Matrix?
So I never saw it. I just heard of the concept, and it
Oh,
fucked me up because I was really
Whoa.
religious as a kid, and
Oh.
so like then it introduced this notion of like, what if the world isn't real? What if all these things aren't real?
Oh,
Functionally,
sure.
what if there's no God? And I was like, damn, what if there is no God and also like existence is fake? And so like that, I ruminated on that, like just got super depressed, had a lot of trouble for like 2 years.
Oh my god.
yeah, Nathan.
Yeah.
There's also like this thing where you'll see something that is like technically PG.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like on paper, nominally, this is a PG thing, and it just includes such a troubling scene that,
Yes.
like, well, we could show this to a child; it's fine.
Yep.
And the example that my girlfriend came up last night was the talking toilet from Look Who's Talking. That
Oh,
Mel Brooks voices.
yeah. Yes.
Evidently, the toilet is who's talking.
It's yes, it is.
He's like, give me that pee-pee, right? Yeah.
He's like, "Give me that pee-" It's Mel Brooks as like
It's
a
Mel
as
Brooks.
like a demon toilet going, like,
Yeah.
look at that baby, look at that baby.
Oh
And
my
it's just
God.
like it's so go back and watch it. You're like, wow,
I need to go
that's-
back and watch that.
It's really cool.
It's deeply
It's so
troubling. You're right. You're
but,
right.
but it's never, yeah, it is, and like it always was like practical stuff. I think like Killer Clowns from Outer Space did a number on me when I was a kid. That is something you shouldn't show to a kid. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Jaws is nice. It's
My,
it's
my dad likes to fuck around, and when my nieces and nephews were visiting and they were very young, he put Killer Clowns, knowing that they kept coming out of their the bedroom that they were sleeping in, and standing up on like the the banister, whatever the hell it is, the upstairs floor. They could look down and see the TV, and they kept just sneaking out and watching Killer Clowns. And my dad got very yelled at by his daughter-in-law,
Yes.
who was very mad for weeks dealing with the trauma that movie
Oh,
caused.
no.
I will say if you show him Jaws, just also be like, take out some statistics about sharks and being like, they don't hurt people. They just like literally never have. They
Yeah,
just,
it almost
and, like
never
a handful of
happens.
times. You know what I mean? Like it's almost an anomaly. They don't mean to do it. It's fine. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. In fact, they get killed a lot, and they probably shouldn't because we need something that kills jellyfish. Or
By the
something.
way,
I don't know.
Chris, I love this idea that children would be convinced by statistics. Like adults notoriously
going-
are not convinced by statistics, but children definitely will look
I
at the
still
hard
try. I
numbers and
still try
say,
using statistics
oh
on the
yeah,
kids.
this is actually not a
Loves
problem at all.
Children love facts about animals.
It's
Yeah.
Are you
true.
kidding?
Yeah. They do.
Like,
National
yeah.
Geographic magazine.
That's just a dinosaur ultimately, and they love dinosaurs and be
You-
like, no, they're actually like, you don't have to just don't worry about it.
This is why Pokemon's so popular. There's so many like little animal facts that they could just glom onto
Yeah.
forever.
That
I
one's
just
a
love-
mouse. That one's a bunch
lo-
of magnets.
I love Chris. I love the way you speak about everything. Like you're really resonating with me on a way
Yeah,
I was
fan
not
here.
expecting. Fan out a little bit here. You cannot though reason statistically with a child, because I like Grub said, I've tried to do it so many times. Like I it's just if there's something that
And we're
doesn't
both talking about
compute.
Dan Reichert, right? We're both
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but what is amazing is like I've also think we've stumbled across a really interesting topic of like perfectly where the MPAA was like totally cool with releasing a PG thing, and inside that work contained the most deeply troubling thing. I think we're very much onto something. For me, I think it might have been Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Isn't that the one that invented PG-13?
Yeah, because it didn't exist
Oh, you're right.
Like,
I think it was
when?
81 maybe, or like something 85 maybe, maybe in the 80s, I want to say.
Yeah. That was
maybe that was the one that went 13, because as soon as you see that dude's face melt,
84.
84.
It was Temple of Doom, I think.
Temple of Doom did
Got
that.
it.
Yeah,
So that means Raiders was PG.
Yes.
Which is
it meant parental
crazy.
guidance. It meant parental
Yeah,
guidance.
guide parentally.
But PG, I don't know. Like that end scene where my man's face is just melting.
You gotta see, it's okay if God does it though. Like if God's making the faces melt, then it's just a-okay.
I mean, I know they were Nazis, but fuck, man, that's like
what a way to go.
It is rough.
The counter argument: we should bring that element back to PG movies. There should be more Nazis whose faces are melting in children's entertainment.
That's tough to argue with.
I think it's practicals. You know, you gotta make it so that, like, you know, if something gross happens, you actually did that. Like, I don't know. It's just if only because it's just like that's good hard work. You know
yes,
what I mean?
I agree. I did do a lot of like filmmaking 101 with my child, where I'm just like, this is why it's scary. And we would like record things on my phone and be like, see, it doesn't look like anyone's here, but you and I are here. We're in this room making this movie.
Stop
right?
melting people's faces in your own time.
That really did resonate for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Showing my child Irreversible, but what is it? What's the movie with the guy from Omen 3 and Sam Neill? Anyway.
Event Horizon?
No, the one from the 80s.
That movie rules though.
The one where he's like in Germany and he's a spy. Anyway, that joke doesn't work anymore. Sorry.
Oh, okay, it's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
Event Horizon, did that scare you because of the religion thing? Because that's what Dan said. He was in Catholic school, so all of the Catholic Roman chanting at the end of the movie really scared him for a very long time.
I only watched that movie as an adult, and the part that really sticks with me is the bit where like the guy flies out into the openness of space and it's like eyeballs pop out. That scene is striking. Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, it is like another existentially terrifying movie. People go off into like some part of space, come back irrevocably. That's how you say that word. Changed by like the horrors they've witnessed and potentially been like possessed by. Like, you know, it's a sick concept executed in this way that I think at the time people didn't really like, this is kind of cheesy. But you go back to it and it's like, no, this is wild. This movie is bonkers all the way through.
We've touched on this with PG movies and having a very dark element and just having an odd attachment to our things here. But the original Toy Story and the Brave Little Toaster, I think, have fucked me up in such a way where I have a weird attachment to my electronics. Where it's like,
Chris remembered.
I don't want you to go.
There is a home 4K scan of the Brave Little Toaster that somebody did. Because a lot of people, I won't take up too much time with this. But like there is like there is probably because I posted about it.
Probably because you posted about it.
Yeah. So basically, like, you know, as with most like preservation stuff, I do a lot of preservation stuff for tapes and laser discs. But like the real head stuff is the original trilogy forum, and those are the guys who like have like a reel of like movies that for whatever reason just will never get a Blu-ray. Some of them are like contraband, for example, like, you know, like certain Disney movies that we will never see the light, that will never ever be put out ever again for very, very good reasons. And then some of them are like ones like the Brave Little Toaster, which is this like weird in between thing where it's like the rights are complicated. There's no interest from like corporate. They don't want to acknowledge that it exists. And so like a lot of people do home telecine of 35 millimeter reels.
Wow.
Like there was that guy doing trailers and stuff. And it's a really good, a lot of anime is actually like this because anime rights are really, really disgusting. Just hard to do, you know, some things get complicated. And yeah, they do home restoration of the stuff. And the Brave Little Toaster scan that this guy did looks great.
Yeah, why does it say it's uncensored? What is censored about the US DVD of Brave Little Toaster?
Well, there's a death scene of an appliance.
The
several
guy
appliances.
All right then.
So two little Brave Little Toaster facts that are interesting. The guy who did it, who wrote the story, it's based on a book, is Thomas Dish, who is a really good science fiction author who passed away of complications of AIDS was in the East Village and was very good at writing about like having ADD in a science fiction context. He did a really good short story book called Camp Concentration. That's very good. And he also did one of the cattiest books of science fiction criticism I've ever seen called The Dreams Our Stuff Is Made Of. And it's just this middle of the road, like science fiction isn't good, science fiction isn't bad. It is what it is, and it can be both of these things. And if you turn it one way, it prevents nuclear war. And if you turn it another way, you get Om Shinryoku. Oh. And he's a great, great, great analysis because he was also the catty gay man of the science fiction world. So he's just constantly talking shit. He's constantly bitching. And the other fun thing is that I believe it was Brad Bird originally tried to pitch this.
Oh, wow.
It's like, hey, imagine if these appliances had a life of their own at home. And then it got like taken away from him or something like that. And then later on he made Toy Story. And it's like, Toy Story is just a Brave Little Toaster ripoff. He tried. We have the receipts. He tried to get this off the ground. He didn't do it. And then he made Toy Story and it made bonko bucks, or forget if it was Brad Bird or whoever. But anyway, someone involved in Pixar. Yeah. It was clearly ripping that off. And it's a better movie.
Crazy.
Reminiscing about our childhood here reminded me, I don't know if y'all remember this at all, and I don't have anything to say about this other than how much it horrified me as a child, but The Adventures of Timmy the Tooth was a puppet, and it just made me scared of my teeth, that I had to floss and brush every single night and day. God, that Timmy looks disgusting.
Look at this fucker. I don't like this at all. This guy sucks.
Teeth shouldn't be alive.
Teeth shouldn't be alive.
I have bad news for you about the kind of general makeup of our teeth. They are organic matter. They are technically alive.
Yeah, they're
that's on Blu-ray.
They're bone, right?
Yeah, they're
Blech.
yeah.
Blech.
Yeah, this guy sucks.
That's the end of our first segment here. Nathan, Chris, thank you so much, gentlemen. Once again, aftermath.site just launched. Chris, Nathan, you guys can hang out for the rest of the show. You got a dip. Let me know. We'd love to have you either way.
Yeah, I mean, I can chill for a little bit longer, I think.
I got to dip in like 30, but I can hang out and I'll just quietly bow out.
Okie dokie. All right. We'll see you guys after a quick break. I can't handle how much stuff Chris is unlocking within my brain, because during the break we were talking about Christian anime, and I swear that I've seen this little robot before. I don't know, within my dreams or within me, and I'm terrified now.
I think it's in the Bible, actually. Yeah.
There's a lot of robots in the Bible.
Yeah.
There is. John the Baptist, actually a robot.
John the Baptist. Just if you say it the robot voice.
That doesn't make him a robot, though, Grunt.
I think it makes him a robot, though. Yeah.
Oh,
It
okay.
means that at least robots talk about him.
Yeah.
So.
Jeff Grubb, let's talk about some news, please.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is God's favorite podcast.
That's right.
Facts are facts.
All right, we got a handful of news stories here. Let's start with Nintendo addressing rumors about the Switch 2 at Gamescom and its dual screen patents. Nintendo has denied reports that it has briefed developers on plans for a Nintendo Switch successor, and has also dismissed a recent patent filing for a device with multiple screens. However, some analysts believe that a new Nintendo console could be released in 2024. Still seems very likely. Earlier this year, Windows Central and VGC and Eurogamer had kind of two separate reports at two separate times of, hey, developers at Gamescom were briefed on the Switch 2. When asked about that, Shintaro Furukawa at Nintendo, president of Nintendo, said that those are inaccurate, although he doesn't elaborate on which parts are inaccurate or if the whole thing's inaccurate. CEOs almost never do that. He also dismissed any sort of people extrapolating from that recent patent about a dual screen device that when you take those two sides apart, the two sides can still communicate with wireless signals and it can act like a DS and all this other stuff. He's like, nah, that's not anything either. I think that one's probably true. He's probably right about that. That's the kind of thing where Nintendo patents stuff all the time, and nothing ever happens with that. But I don't usually Eurogamer and VGC, their reporting is usually pretty spot on this stuff, especially when they hear about it separately. And I just wouldn't be surprised if this is them being a little bit trying to obfuscate what really did happen and say, yeah, we were kind of talking to some people about it. Maybe he's like, oh, did you show off the Switch 2 at Gamescom? Well, we didn't maybe have the physical Switch 2, but we might have talked about it to developers. There's a lot of space for both sides to be telling the truth here. Either way, we're expecting the follow-up to the Switch to be announced at some point in the next year or so. So they got to start talking to developers at some point. I don't have the story here, but there is this like recent trend of Nintendo games and at least one third-party game getting a new button coloring scheme for Switch games that exactly matches the Super Famicom controller, where it's like, the red is the A is red, and that's like the yellow, blue, and the green all the way around, like the Super Famicom controller had. And people are like, well, Nintendo's just kind of doing a throwback. But once third-party developers started doing it, there's like a fashion game that just released that's doing it as well. That lines up with some reporting that the next Switch might have a Super Famicom styling to it. Might even be called the Super Nintendo Switch 2 or something like that. And so people are, something's happening here. They're getting these games ready to be backward compatible. So this is something we should hear about relatively soon. But I don't know. Where are you guys at with like Switch 2 getting announced? Is it something that you guys don't expect to happen until middle of next year?
I mean, at this point, probably it's going to be at least a minute. Like we're, coming toward the end of the year. Game Awards doesn't really seem like the kind of place where Nintendo would drop major news.
I mean, it's not impossible, but I agree. Like, yes, it seems really unlikely. Yes.
Yeah. So, I would figure that at the earliest, it'd be probably middle of next year.
I think they just, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, they just do things on their own time now. They don't care.
Yeah. They don't need to.
Yep.
They've fully won, whatever vestiges of the console wars are left. They may as well just like do what works for them.
Yeah. And even when they were in a corner with the Wii U, it wasn't like they were operating on some set schedule that they had done before where they're like, oh, we did this in the past, so we're going to do it this time. It's like, no, we're going to announce it in a video in December, and then we'll have an announcement event in March or in the early next year, and then launch it in March. So that's probably not going to be exactly what they do this time. But I don't know. I think by next holiday we'll either have this thing or we'll definitely know a lot about it. But for now, they are continuing to stay pretty silent. And that, like, they were asked about this apparently inside of their conversation with investors, which is where a lot of this data is coming from. As part of this, though, they confirmed that the Switch has now sold 132.46 million units as of September 30th, 2023. That makes it the second best-selling home console of all time, behind the PlayStation 2. It probably will get to about 140 million units by the end of this year, or somewhere in that range. The PlayStation 2 is at about 150 million. It could actually end up getting there. It depends on how fast the Switch does fall off after the Switch 2 is introduced. Nintendo has sold more Switch consoles and games in the first 6 months of its fiscal year this year than it did in the same period last year. Obviously, that is because of Zelda. Zelda's going to push a lot more, and that really seemed to have the effect there. Switch hardware sales, however, overall are declining, especially in major markets outside of Japan. It's actually growing in Japan, weirdly. Nintendo says this year's software sales were driven by Zelda and Pikmin 4, and Nintendo plans to release those games that are coming up just now, either WarioWare, which just released, Super Mario RPG, and more, and that's going to carry them through the holiday. The best-selling games on the Switch so far, the order hasn't changed, but just the numbers on some of these games continues to be baffling. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the best-selling game on the Switch, still sold another 1.5 million copies in the last quarter. It's now at 57.01 million copies sold.
What?
I mean, a lot of those get packed in, but people are buying those packages because it comes with Mario Kart. Like, that's the reason they're getting it.
That feels like
Animal
cheating.
Crossing.
I don't know why.
Well, a little bit, yeah, but I mean,
Wasn't there like a Smash? I'm sorry, I just missed it. There's a Smash like package that they're just now putting out or something.
Yes, so part of their Black Friday lineup. They have a whole bunch of stuff. Usually, they just do a Mario Kart 8 bundle. They have, I think, an Animal Crossing bundle this year, but then they just announced a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate OLED bundle, and Smash Bros. Ultimate came out 5-6 years ago or something like that. So yeah, and I mean, like, Breath of the Wild is getting a Black Friday sale down to $40, a $60 game down to $40,
Wow.
7 years after it came out. That's just how Nintendo's operating these days. Yeah, Animal Crossing New Horizons at 43.38 million. That sold another 0.6 million copies. Smash Brothers is at 32 million. Breath of the Wild's at 31.15 million. Mario Odyssey's at 27 million. Then you have Pokemon Sword and Shield and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet at 26 and 23 respectively. Super Mario Party at 19.66 million. And just to put that in perspective, that's a bad game.
I agree.
Yeah.
Mario Party, fucking awful.
Yeah. I think Mario Party Superstars is the better of those, and that one's like catching up to this. That's like, I think, at like 15 million copies or something like that. But Super Mario Party is just straight up a bad game, and that 19.66 million is better. It makes it a better seller than I think anything from first party Xbox or first party PlayStation.
Well, that last Pokemon game was rough too. Those last Pokemon games
yeah.
were really
Stop
rough.
it
It's
at
just been
all.
getting. I mean, I know they have a different relationship with like the Pokemon Company, and thus like their hands are tied and they can't do their normal thing. But goddamn, like the quality control on that, and even Arceus was just so rough. And it's like, I want them to do the T-Table thing, the T-Table Urban Legend, like so badly for this franchise. I want them to be like, no, you're taking like 2 seconds to have time and staff and crew to make a game that looks good.
Yep,
Chris is speaking my language.
They keep releasing these games on this 3-year schedule, and they have never abandoned it, and they keep selling. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is catching up to Sword and Shield. It's still behind it, but in the last quarter, it sold another 0.57 million, so 570,000 copies. And that's before this holiday where it's going to have its DLC, and that DLC is likely going to get packaged in with the game here pretty soon, and that will probably ship another couple of million copies over several months. And so yeah, that game's probably going to get up to 26 million as well. And then Tears of the Kingdom is at 19.5 million already without having a first holiday to get through as well. So that's going to shoot up over 20 million.
Thank God it's going to clear. Thank God it's going to eventually outsell Mario Party.
Yes,
'Cause
exactly, right?
That was
It's just
did
a
not
fucked up
happen.
thing to think about, right? Oh, yeah, this is one of the
There would be
fastest selling
no
games of all
justice in
time.
the universe.
Still behind Super Mario Party.
Yeah.
That's I mean that I do think about that. Like Pikmin 4, we got the new story coming up here. I'll just say it right now. Pikmin 4 is the best-selling Pikmin game of all time. It did 2.61 million copies, and I'm like, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
But boy, does that make me sad that Super Mario Party's at 10 times that. It's just so
Right.
devastating.
That's a fraction of a Mario Party.
Uh-huh.
What is it? I mean, why did like I get Mario Kart, right? Like that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Switch is very popular with families,
Yeah.
and a lot of those Mario Party sales, not all of them, but a lot did happen during the pandemic, where people were buying the Switch and buying games to play to keep their family entertained, and that momentum is carried. It sold another 270,000 copies in the last quarter. Again, better than a lot of brand new games.
Fucking Mario Party.
Yeah. And then New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe, a port of a Wii U game, is at 16.7 million
Word?
copies sold. Yep.
Yep.
Again, and that's better than just about anything else from any other publisher. And this is a port of a Wii U game. So you imagine Wonder's going to do pretty well there. But overall, the hardware is dropping off. It's trending. It's kind of trending down in a pretty noticeable way. Japan is the one territory that is seeing like, actually Japan had more, looks like it has more hardware sold than the Americas so far this year. So that's really good that they're able to keep that momentum in Japan, something that was questionable there for a while in terms of like how much does that audience still care about traditional games. But when it's Nintendo stuff, they're very much on board still. But in the Americas, in Europe, and other regions, it's dropping off pretty big. And that's usually when they're ready to lock and load with a new system. So we'll hear more about that soon. Elsewhere, Epic Game Store isn't profitable yet. The Epic Game Store is about 5 years old, still isn't profitable according to Epic Games. It has offered generous revenue splits to developers and spent heavily on exclusives and free games, but it has also laid off employees and increased prices. And they seem to have abandoned some of that strategy. The guy that was Sergey, I can't remember how to say his last name.
The guy who used to do the all of the Steam
DB. Was it Steam? Yes,
Not
exactly.
Steam DB. It was a different data. It was a different thing. But yeah, he managed to like figure out what Steam games were selling basically.
Exactly. He was like a data analyst guy, and he was overseeing, or he was basically in charge of turning Epic Game Store into a competitor. He's left, and that was kind of signifying that the strategy we were doing before of a lot of free games and all this stuff, it didn't necessarily have the effect that we were hoping for it to have.
I mean, that seems to be like where Epic is at in general right now. Like This is also, them talking about kind of like what they were hoping to do with like Fortnite and creator stuff and all of that in terms of generating more revenue. And they just like came to the conclusion like, this is not making the kind of money that we expected it to.
Yes.
And that's where, a lot of the layoffs came from.
I feel like
they still, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Nathan.
I was going to say they still seem to be fairly attached to that strategy, or at least to like metaversizing Fortnite.
Yeah.
But it's become clear to them that the amount of money they thought they could pull in off of doing this is not going to align with reality.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to the store, very much a fight being picked by Tim Sweeney. This is a something I think he wants to fight because he's angry about this, and recently it seems like they do have a strategy of publishing games and getting games off the ground, like Alan Wake 2, that is going to be very successful and very that's actually going to work, as opposed to the strategy for a long time there of finding games about to come out and paying to keep them off Steam. I understand why they did that strategy, but it never really had the effect that they were going for. I think there was a couple of games that moved the needle. Borderlands 3, I think, was probably the biggest one that they had. But it just was a lot of money a lot of good money after bad is what it seems like. And I guess hindsight's 2020, but man, imagine if all that money could have gone to projects that were similar to Alan Wake 2.
Right.
Not that there's a million developers out there ready to make games like that, but there are more than are getting funded. So yeah, that just seems like a shame.
Yeah.
Seems like a waste.
Just walk into Finland with like a boatload of money and be like, all right, we need more Finnish game designers.
Yeah,
That's
where's
what
all
we
the
need.
creepy lads at?
Yeah.
20 Sam Lakes just emerge from nowhere.
That game's got
sewer.
demo scene stuff, and I just just go into a guys who are really good at making things run efficiently and just be like, here, do magic tricks here.
Hey, if Epic shifts into that would be great. A great use of that money.
Yeah.
I think.
Right.
I mean, the thing well, actually, I take it back. We do talk about it all the time. The Epic Game Store as a product, as a piece of software, is very bad. And that is also why it is probably not moving the needle. If that thing, like the fact that I lament having to launch Alan Wake 2, the fact that I do not look forward to that tells you everything you need to know. It is such a, like, I don't know what is going on with this software, but it does not work. They have to redo it. They have to just stop and start over because it's bad. I hate it. I hate it. I hate that software.
The other thing though is like, even if Epic managed to make something really good on that front, managed to like achieve feature parity with Steam in almost every way, that probably still would not be enough, because generally speaking, people don't move platforms or leave for like different things when the client that they already have is perfectly good.
And they got also, all like, their they have stuff there, right?
Yeah, they've got their stuff, they've got their friends, they've got a community, they know how it all works. They don't have to adjust to any new interface. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, unless Epic like comes out with something that just revolutionizes the entire way we do this, then, you know, they're not going to meaningfully pull people away from Steam. Like, it's just that there's not a way to do it.
The only other use case, the only other like platform that I think of is like GOG, and the only reason why GOG is supported by people is because it has like one specific thing it does.
DRM free.
DRM free, and like nobody's else. You know what I mean? Like there is a actual like use case difference with the platform, and if it's like, hey, would you like this worse platform? Everyone's gonna be like, hate the imposition. I think that's the other thing, is like it's the idea of just like being forced to do it. It's like not even just that it works bad, it's that there's no choice in the matter. Whereas GOG is this thing that you do if you're a freak and you like that stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's for,
shout out to the freaks out there for sure.
Yeah, no, it's good, it's valid, very valid. But it's just
I think there is something to that though, like, because it's also, to your point, like almost an identity thing. Like if you're somebody who uses GOG, you're someone who cares about older games, who cares about games being freely available instead of like locked down by DRM. Like, it's almost a badge of honor. And if you can provide that to people, something that like, is a form of identity, then they'll be super into it.
Something like Bandcamp for it. Wait.
Oh, shit. Darn. Dang.
Wow. Also,
Whatever
if you
happened
read a
to
story
that?
about that, check out Aftermath later this week, because I'm working
fantastic.
on a thing. Yeah.
Oh, would love some answers there. Yes, absolutely. We'll see what happens in the store space, but it seems very locked down for Steam. And then if there's disruption, you would think it's coming from Game Pass, but it's not like that's overtaking PC gaming in any real way either. It's growing, sure, but it's like, no, Steam still has all that momentum. And if there's disruption, it's not happening at Epic Games Store. PlayStation consoles are losing Twitter integration next week. Sony Interactive Entertainment will be disabling Twitter integration on PlayStation consoles next week. This includes the ability to view Twitter content, post content, and link Twitter accounts. Sony has not confirmed the reason for this decision, but Microsoft made a similar move in April due to high API costs. Twitter wants to charge around $42,000 a month for major enterprise partners. This is smart because Twitter was getting free content for its platforms, and now it won't. Wait, that doesn't sound smart at all. Actually,
can I lose integration?
Twitter really knows what it's doing.
Like just disengage me, man.
Can I say the line?
Say the line.
If you'd like to read a post about this, you can go to aftermath.tech. No, it sucks. It legitimately sucks. And I have a very complicated reason as somebody who does a show where I look for video game clips, which is yes. Okay, you know what you can do on Twitter? Find video clips in a way that is kind of organized. You know where you can't do that? Everywhere else except kind of Reddit and maybe YouTube, but not really, because why would you look there? And like that's the thrust of the piece I did, is there is a no good place for video game clips. Nobody has thought about this. Like, and the fact that you can search by source operator, for example, like search operators are important, and being able to upload from Twitter to a like platform without downloading it with your phone on a very good app. It's actually a pretty good app. I like the PlayStation app, but like having it all organized as like, this is a category that's just game clips is so useful, not just for me, but for people trying to find out what the fuck is happening. And this lack of indexing, this like slow erosion of like being able to figure out where shit is without it being fed to you by an algorithm that feeds you shit you don't want to see. That has made, it's the enshittification. It's getting worse as a result.
It's getting much worse. The web is becoming unuseful. Like it is,
Yeah.
it was once a tool, and now it is a content shoveling platform, and it's rough. The sad thing here is, yeah, for a very long time, Twitter very bad, and then secretly got kind of okay. It got kind of okay there for a little bit, where they dealt with a lot of their hate problems, not all of it. They got really good at dealing with disinformation, and then all of their tools for searching and finding stuff and following the people you want to follow and curating your own experience was pretty decent.
It was a good utility. That,
and now it's
like most utilities
yeah.
don't need to make money, right?
Yep.
Like if it serves the people. Yeah.
But the thing is, it was making money. It was like we were making a lot of ad money, and then here we are. And of course it's being ripped apart, piece by piece.
And like also like I had legacy access to Twitter Studio, which is something that nobody knows exists unless you are like a media freak.
Right.
And like they revoked that. And honestly, that like the fact that there is no actual front end tool for normal people to just do video uploads, to like do YouTube uploads. Or like YouTube style things where it's like, here's the thumbnail, here's the metadata, here's the SRT. That stuff hasn't worked. It's not that it's a good or bad, like Twitter could be a great platform for video. It could be very good because it's like engaging in a way that is correct. It's just, it looks like you uploaded it from a PS3 and it like there's no tools for it. And they keep doing like, who cares about the rationale? Because like, even if it wasn't just the API call, you know what I mean? There's like 20 million reasons. It's like they're hemorrhaging users, like, it's bad to be associated with it. And like, if Elon comes in and does this thing where it's like, oh, here's like I'm going to shake you down a slight amount for something you're not really getting anything out of, except, let's be honest, it made it easier to figure out what people were doing on your platform. Like, it's actually really a useful thing for Sony, but they're like, I don't care anymore. And like TikTok's not that either, because TikTok's this other thing. It's closer to YouTube. They like content that's in like a very specific format, that's memes. Like, it's a lot of good recut Twitch clips and stuff like that. Whenever you try to look up game stuff, you will not find like good gaming content that's just clips on TikTok. It's a wasteland for that stuff.
And the TikTok is almost all the algorithms, so you're going to get reinforced the stuff you've already started watching and discovering new stuff. It's just not a tool. It is a content consumption platform. There is still ways, obviously, to post stuff to Twitter, but it's no longer a button on the PlayStation. And as we were talking about, like, people like people take the path of least resistance, and if you put any resistance there, a significant portion are going to stop doing things the way they were, and they just won't find a new way, and it's done. So that's the reality here. All right. Blizzard seems happy about being at Microsoft. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard is expected to have a positive impact on Blizzard, according to Blizzard president Mike Ibarra. Now, he would say that, but to be fair, a lot of employees there are echoing some of these similar sentiments. They have their own reasons that I think are separate from Ibarra's. But Ibarra said that Microsoft's culture of trust, inclusion, and collaboration will empower Blizzard to continue creating great games. He also said that Microsoft is supportive of Blizzard revisiting older titles if they want to. Basically, though, what he's saying here is we're going to be more independent than we have been, and independent from what or who exactly? I think it's Bobby Kotick is like Bobby Kotick had
Bobby.
Bobby had his way of doing things, which is bigger, more, faster.
You also sequels as often as possible.
As often as possible.
I mean, like Overwatch 2 is like a perfect example of this, right? Like a sequel that no one really asked for, that came at great expense of the original game, that like still has not really found its footing. And like that was all internal Bobby Kotick stuff. Him being like, we need a sequel to this game that's doing really well. The Overwatch team did not want to make Overwatch 2. They wanted to keep adding stuff to Overwatch 1.
I mean, that's the reason like Bungie was like, we got to get out of this with Destiny, because they're going to keep making us make Destiny 3, and there's no way we're doing that. So yeah, this is his MO for a very long time. Bobby Kotick is like, hey, we have something that works. Here's my genius. Make it again, make it bigger, and make it faster. That's real clever stuff there. Are we going to probably eventually run it into the ground? It's like he's very lucky that Call of Duty is one that was so resistant to that. But Tony Hawk, Guitar Hero, definitely got ran into the ground. And he made a lot of money doing that, I guess. But there's something to be said for longevity, too. And there's something to be said for the people making these things not feeling like they are being ground down, having to just get this stuff out as fast as possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is one area in which the workers at some of these companies are potentially excited. I did a piece on aftermath.site That's Aftermath. That's it. About the sort of unionized workers at companies like Blizzard Albany and ZeniMax, which is under Microsoft, and how like as a result of Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, basically Microsoft has agreed to this neutrality deal where they will allow workers to discuss labor organizing, unions, things like that, and to form them without, union busting. So basically interfering by coercing people.
And they're committed to that, because if they go back on that, that is something they've discussed with regulators, and then regulators would be able to come back and bite them.
Yes, it is legally binding with a union called the CWA. And so a lot of people who work at these studios are cautiously optimistic because like now there's not really much stopping, thousands, potentially like 10,000 employees from unionizing in various capacities and like and as a result, securing better conditions for themselves, pushing back against things like crunch and even layoffs, things of that nature. So, there is reason to be excited, even though they've just, jumped from one behemoth to another behemoth.
Right. It's not orders of magnitude different. The world is like a utopia with butterflies and rainbows because they're no longer because they're at Microsoft now. But it's like, oh no, it is measurably better in these certain areas, and the ways where it could be a problem. It could be. We'll see. But it's like for the people making this stuff, mostly it seems like a couple of good positive moves in the right direction for a lot of them. And we'll see how long that lasts. Nothing's going to last forever. Speaking of Xbox and what's happening over there, they're talking up using AI tools to build characters, dialogue, and narratives. Xbox and InWorld have partnered to create AI dialogue and narrative tools for game developers. The tools will include an AI design co-pilot and an AI character runtime engine. The use of AI in the entertainment world is obviously a point of contention right now. Haiyan Zheng, who's Xbox's general manager of gaming AI, said the toolset will include an AI design co-pilot that assists and empowers game designers to explore more creative ideas, turning prompts into detailed scripts, dialogue trees, quests, and more, as well as an AI character runtime engine that can be integrated into the game client, enabling entirely new narratives with dynamically generated stories, quests, and dialogue for players to experience. Now, I am of the sober opinion that this is going to be really tough to stop, but the ideal solution. The ideal solution is unions being able to step in and create guidelines. But short of that, it is create tools for the developers to use. Don't replace developers with these things. I still think that seems like a risky thing here, though. What do you guys think?
The first thing that popped into my head was like, just as long as no one loses their job over it, it's but how could that even be a thing that you like measure and sort of like track, right?
Yeah, I mean, what usually happens with this stuff is like I always point to the example of Epic Games saying, hey, in Unreal Engine 5, there's a button you can press that creates a city, an open world city for you. And that used to be a job that would employ lots of people. And it's like, well, so that means we're going to get games. This is what people think. We're going to get games faster because you can just press that button, and now you can make games cheaper and you don't have to have so many people. And it's like, well, yeah, that's true for certain tiers of games. For those top tiers of games, it's like they're going to take all the people that were busy making the city, and now they're going to have those people work on other things like the interiors that you can't just create with a button. The scope will keep getting bigger now that these other things are easier. That's not always going to be the case, though. There are going to be situations where people do get replaced.
Can I offer a rejoinder to that? And
Please.
I saw somebody posting about this. Somebody posted a tool, and what it was used, I don't know, like GPT or whatever, and it's like it would describe an object, and then it would render that object in a 3D in like Blender. And I saw someone who worked in games who was like, for a living, tell people to reduce the number of triangles in their models so it runs on consoles, and this would give me a heart attack and make me quit. Yeah. And that is every AI tool. I try getting it. I've used all that stuff. Like, it's useful for certain things. It's useful if you want to make the voice of Roger from American Dad. That's fine. It's useful if you want to transcode, and I have. It's useful if you want to transcribe things. There are limited uses to this stuff, but like more often than not, you're babysitting it. And the babysitting takes more time. Like even with I don't think that's exactly what happened with City Skylines, but they clearly had like a tool that made like their models have too many goddamn teeth. You know what I mean? Or any teeth. You know what I mean? Like this middleware stuff where you don't babysit it. and you have to babysit it. It's just it creates a lot of work that like I don't think people in charge understand. That is not actually an efficiency. It's just you've created another class of people you have to hire to watch the people that you destroyed with a robot. And it's like
it
most
really doesn't,
stuff with AI. It's also
it is all of it.
I mean,
nothing. Yeah, go ahead, Nathan, please.
It's kind of a banal point, but like AI is not intelligent. AI is a branding term. It does not describe the way the thing actually functions. It is a large language model. It just means that it can imitate things at a scale, but even then it's mostly just taking them and reapplying them, which is also why, like, you mentioned specifically that this tool could like aid in quest design or something like that. That sounds terrible to me because if you try to communicate with an AI bot, they lose track of like individual threads so quickly. They like don't know, they have trouble calling back to things that you talked about earlier, like, which is all quests are. They're just a series of events that call back to each other. Like, it does not sound like a great idea to me.
Yeah, I think, Chris, you're exactly right, and Nathan, I think you extrapolated there as well, where it's just like these things are, they have their uses. They are just tools, though, and anytime where we're like putting the tools in charge, it's just not going to work. And I've used a lot of the AI stuff, and it's like if you ask it to do the things that we're told it's going to be replacing jobs for, it is very bad immediately. It is so noticeable. It's not going to pass a sniff test, let alone be able to like create these games the way that people say. And like, there are people like, oh, I coded a game using like ChatGPT, having me walk through it. And it's like, yeah, a human involved in every step of the process probably can accomplish a lot more with a computer assistant. I could see that happening. And I do think AI probably will get integrated into a lot of the workflows for a lot of people, but from people who know what they're doing, know what to look for, and are able to figure out where it works and where it doesn't. And that's going to take time, and that's going to require a lot of people still being involved in the process.
I know it's not the same thing one-to-one, but I feel like remember all those procedural generation games were coming out in like, early 2010s and 2011, in that decade. Do you think they would have used AI instead of procedural generate, like just as like a buzzword sort of term, or like, hey, Spelunky's got that AI and making all those
they would have
levels.
branded it. Yes, for
Right?
a minute.
It feels
Some
like that's
developers would have
probably
been
what
like
happened.
afraid of associating themselves with that.
Yeah, of
thing.
course.
Yeah,
There's
but
stigma,
definitely
yeah.
right. Yes.
So it's also it's run out of steam. I don't know. The whole thing run out of steam. They needed somewhere to park their money when crypto crashed.
Yeah.
Like and like they needed to be a thing. Everyone in Silicon Valley that like runs a hedge fund was like needed something to be annoying about for a year and a half. And everyone's like tired of talking about this. The only thing that's fun, and then more importantly, all the cloud processing is just money for cloud processing is just gonna run out. Like it takes a lot of energy to make like Big Bird do 9/11 in ChatGPT or whatever. and like eventually you're gonna have to pay for it. And everyone's like, oh fuck that, I don't want to do that. It's just how it's gonna work,
Yeah, it's honestly the results aren't worth that money. I use some AI stuff to when I put my notes in for this show, the news rundown. I'm running right here. I put a bunch of notes in, copy a bunch of stuff from a bunch of stories, and then I put like, okay, here's what matters to me. Here's this. Now summarize this. And most of the time it works. Sometimes it makes a grave error that's, and I got to like remember actually what this thing said and work around what the computer's done because I'm reading it now. So it's like, it's still not great. I would not pay for this. That's in the Google Docs thing. That's like their professional tool set that they actually sell to enterprises.
Sucks.
Yes, it's bad.
Sorry, just real quick. Tangentially, I've had some acquaintances say, "Oh yeah, man, I use ChatGPT to write myself a cover letter and get hired at a job."
Now that does work because the hiring process is such horseshit that doesn't matter. Yes.
Fair, very fair. But those same acquaintances have wound up at these jobs and immediately gotten fired because they don't actually have the tool set to fucking succeed at the job. And it's like, bro, you're not gonna do well if you can't even get in on your own. What the fuck are you thinking?
You gotta go in lying. You need to lie on your own strength.
Exactly.
And that way, when you get in there, you're better at lying and you won't get fired.
Exactly.
That's right.
Don't let a robot lie for you.
Gaslight,
do your own lying.
Girl boss. All on your own.
That's such a good point. All right. Insomniac Games has confirmed its main Spider-Man going forward is Miles Morales. Insomniac Games confirmed this. Said Peter Parker will take a back seat, but will still be involved in the story. Miles' development as a character was a key factor in the decision, as he has grown more confident and capable over the course of the story. They kind of explained their thinking here, and they explained like how that naturally happened throughout Marvel's Spider-Man 2. There was a reaction to this from weird comic book people and Spider-Man fans.
Good.
It's like,
Good. I hope they can't sleep.
And they're also just dumb as hell. There's no way that Peter Parker's not going to be deeply involved in the next
Even
game. Oh
if
my
he
God.
dies, he will still be involved
Yes,
in the game.
it's comics.
The Jedi ghost of Peter Parker will haunt Miles.
Yeah.
They'll definitely find a way to make that happen. But there's like plenty of threads left over that they need to close up. All they're saying is that Miles Morales is more interesting than Peter Parker at this point, and they're correct.
Yes,
That's
of course.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Well, also,
Everyone
like
who plays the game says that, so it's like not a
the-
big deal.
The Peter Parker story has been told to death at this point, right? Like,
Mhm.
continue
Wait,
to
did
tell
something
them
happen to his uncle?
No,
Yeah.
he's fine. He's fine.
Is he okay?
I don't want to be the one to tell you, but Uncle Ben doesn't make it that far.
It's like, and the story, once again, it's like, man, this is too much for Peter Parker and he needs a break. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's the story of Peter Parker. They did it again. They're going to do a third game. What do you do with that character? You do that again? Like, that's what happens with Spider-Man. They probably are like, no, let's kind of leave that behind and do some new stuff with Miles Morales. We find that more interesting as storytellers.
Give me Bonesaw.
Oh, of
Yeah,
course.
where's he at? That's why I
Oh,
love
Saul's ready.
Peter Parker in that new Spider-Verse, where he's just sort of like this dad who's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, he's like
I'm too old for this
obsessed
shit.
with his daughter.
yeah, he's just like, go do your thing, Miles. That's great.
Embracer COO leaves on a high note. Wait, no, that's not right. Igel Strumke, the CEO of Embracer Group, has confirmed his departure from the company. He said that he is grateful for his time there and is excited about the opportunities that lie ahead. He also acknowledged that the last year has been rough for the company, but he is positive that Embracer will come out stronger in the future. The departure comes during a difficult year for the company where they've had a lot of layoffs, some studio closures, and just bad financial report after bad financial report. Embracer is the one where it's like, how do you even talk about this? Because everyone this entire time has been saying exactly what happened here. It's like, wow, they seem to be spending a lot of money and don't seem to have a vision for what to do with all these things they're acquiring. Yep, that's what happened here. They had a lot of cheap capital. They took that money, they spent it, acquired a lot of stuff. Then capital got expensive, and they needed that capital to keep being cheap so they could pay for everything that they already acquired, let alone do new acquisitions. And they don't have any real way to turn that into something that is going to be sustainable. It's not even like on the table, really, sustainability for what they've done here, to the point where they have had multiple successful games in the last year, and that has not helped them whatsoever. He's getting out of Dodge. It feels like he is starting his own company, though. Strumke Games, I think, is what it's called. Good luck with that. I'm sure that there's still capital out there for starting up new things. But I don't know. You guys, Embracer, like we have not, the other shoe is not fully dropped there, right?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I mean, they're just, they've been announcing like new rounds of layoffs at various companies pretty much like for months now.
That's right.
I heard they were thinking of selling Gearbox. That could still happen.
Yep.
That would obviously be pretty massive. And yeah, like also just the impacts on these companies that have sustained layoffs we have yet to see, because that will only really show itself down the line in terms of how games are impacted and things of that nature. But no, I mean, like, I think I just find it really funny that, like, in particular, he's like, however, I'm going to stay in games, despite like, being at least partially responsible for one of the biggest implosions of any game company in the past, like, half decade at least. Like, but I'm going to do it again.
Without you, Strumke.
I've killed before and I'll kill again.
Oh, just real quick. Gotta go. I have to hit a bus, unfortunately.
No problem. Thanks for hanging out, Chris.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Chris.
it. It was a lot of
Take care,
fun, man.
Chris.
Love you,
Always,
bud.
always a pleasure. Let me know if you guys want to stream Afterlife.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, we'll let you know.
All right. Bye.
All right. And then let's see here. Last story. Fortnite's popular. It had 44 million players over a 24-hour period after reintroducing its original map. And it had a concurrent player count of 6.17 million people on that Saturday after they did that. Seems like a good position. It's also maybe, this is the thing that get people excited going back to the original thing. So can they build on that in any meaningful way? That seems like a tough thing to do, but it's better to have a lot of players than not to have them. So I think they probably mostly take this as a good sign. You guys hop back into Fortnite for the OG map at all?
Nah.
Nah, I guess I
Yeah.
missed that one. I don't
Good.
play Fortnite.
Although I guess like it kind of reminds me of like the dilemma of like WoW and WoW Classic.
Yes.
But like, WoW Classic initially generated like more interest than WoW had seen in years. It was this huge thing. But like, while WoW remains popular, the newer stuff, it feels like, it's just not generated the same amount of interest over time. And it feels like Fortnite might have also hit that stage now where like people are, it still has its core base and its core base is enormous.
Yes.
In fairness. But like, it's pretty telling that the thing that drew everybody back was nostalgia for 5 years ago.
Right. I think the lesson here is just stay old and shitty like Roblox. That thing's been old and shitty since 2006 and it's doing just fine. That makes all the money in the world. So, yeah. RuneScape's another one that did like RuneScape Classic that did really well, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you talked about this briefly yesterday during Game Mess Grub, but like WoW is making a weird resurgence with the youth.
WoW seems to be doing okay.
My partner teaches freshmen in high school, and some of her kids were talking about WoW like it was like a cool retro thing, and then it pained me inside.
Yep, I think young streamers are playing a lot of it. And
I was going to say, or they just saw watch Asmongold, who is not young at all.
No, yes,
but
that's not the young and hip streamer I was thinking
guy.
of. But yes, he definitely has a huge audience.
Yeah.
Yep. Asmongold. All right, that does it for the news. I'm heading this show back over to you, Jan.
Thank you. Wow, this is full of news. It's great. I'm gonna
It's
put
moist, right?
It's very moist. It's a little tacky, just like a tacky bread dough. You got to knead it a little bit. So we're gonna take some time.
That's just marijuana resin. Sorry about that.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Nathan, you think you can hang out for the last seg if you got a dip? No worries, dog.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Okay.
Fantastic.
Cool. All right. Well,
Yeah.
we'll see you after a quick breaky break. And we're back with emails. These are the emails for the show. Emails. You can send your emails to bombcast@giantbomb.com, and I will read every single one of them, and I'll cherish them. I print some out, and I put it in a little folder. I bury that folder every day. I dig it back up, and then I rebury it, and then I think about how one day I might get a fun little email tree planted by all of us.
He doesn't understand a lot of things, guys. This is just
no. I'm just incredibly charming, and then I just disarm people with it, and I speak with a lot of confidence, so it gets me a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
Steve in I'm gonna assume Kansas City writes in, goes, "Hey Bombcast crew, as we head into this holiday season, I can think of one thing that can bring joy to the heart of all gamers. Bobby Kotick is losing his job this January. While I couldn't find multiple stories agreeing on his total compensation, most articles I read agree he's paid a lot, somewhere north of $100 million. It made me wonder, once he is no longer employed, what will Microsoft do with all that money? I guess Phil Spencer could just pay himself more. Is it possible it goes towards paying off lawsuits from former employees? But could it be reinvested towards game development? So my real question is, how many game development teams could $100 million fund every year? Is there a dream IP from Activision backlog you would like to see Microsoft revive? Thanks, Steve in Kansas City."
I mean, it's variable, but you think about $100 million per year, and then you think like, what is the average developer paid? Even like a very expensive city like Los Angeles or the Bay Area, and those are $150,000 on the high end. That's a lot of people. You could probably make several studios with that. I don't necessarily think all that money goes right to that, though. I think some of it probably does. But they're going to have some other transition costs that they'll probably do with that money. And they also wouldn't, I don't think they would hate, starting to pocket some of that stuff or using it to pay off any interest on any, they had a lot of money in the bank that they used to pay for this, but they might have financed some of it. And using some of that money to pay that stuff off might be reasonable. But yeah, I think the point here is that they bought Activision Blizzard King for $69 billion, and they think they're going to get a lot more value out of that than what it cost them. And part of it is like they can use that company in a more efficient way than Bobby Kotick and its board of directors could have. And this is part of that. So like they already have leadership in place. They've already been kind of streamlining that stuff a little bit with bringing ZeniMax in under Microsoft Gaming in a way that it wasn't before, and just recently that happened. So yeah, they'll probably take a lot of that money and use it in much better ways than Activision Blizzard was using it in just paying Bobby Kotick.
Yeah, hey, Microsoft, if you want to just park that $100 million somewhere, right here, buddy. Big Phil, cut the check.
Cut the check, Phil.
I know. Oh man, I probably no. You know what? I don't want to back up Grubb's statement that I don't know a lot because people will find out that I don't know a lot. Next,
you're cute.
That's what I'm here for. That's why we keep me around. Jerry in Wisconsin writes in. Jerry asks, "Hey bombers, over the last few days, I've been thinking about the insane quality and quantity of games released in 2023. So much that I started my own list of the forgotten games of this year and plan to send it to y'all. And then I remembered that there was only one gaming thing that this year that was truly actually forgotten by literally everyone. The PSVR 2. Thanks.
PSVR, what is that?
Thanks. Bye, Jerry in Wisconsin. I completely forgot that came out this year.
I mean, I was thinking about it, but like the idea that it came out this year, I completely forgot that.
Jerry's right. There are, I bet you there are easily 15 to 20 games that would be floating way closer to the surface had this been a normie gaming year. And this was just not the year to be discovered, I guess. For be an indie darling, this was not the right time for that, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying Humanity. Someone mentioned Chia in chat, and I love Chia.
Wait, Chia was this year?
Yeah, it was this.
Get the fuck out of
here!
No,
you liar!
It was like early this year.
What? I think. Okay, that's. They said. I honestly don't remember because I don't remember.
Yes, March. What the fuck?
Man,
that's not even like that early. It's like.
Yep. So I mean, but it's like this. Yeah, you're right. This is a year where the games like that didn't have a much tougher time, kind of standing out for long periods of time. I still, I love those games. Yeah.
I think about even like El Paso Elsewhere, which came out kind of recently, very Max Payne inspired, but it's also sharing real estate literally with Alan Wake 2 from Remedy, a game which unto itself doesn't seem to be getting as much pickup as it normally would in any other year. So it's like they're like layers to this. And, if you work your way down, it's like, man, a lot of games probably deserve to be getting more attention than they are.
You could go and like fake re-release your game in 24, I feel like, with decent success, I would imagine. Like, man, it really is jam-packed.
A game of next year edition.
Oh, that's sick. I mean, why not? Like, there's no rules.
Surprise drop your game that is already out.
Exactly.
It's like,
hey, and that's out. Like, you could pretend like you're ramping up for it again, and then all of a sudden, and it's available today. Guess what? You can play this right now.
It's super good too, because people will be like, "Wait, didn't this come out last year?" And you can be like, "No."
Turns out
you've forgotten. You are wrong. Again,
not
gaslight,
this one.
Gatekeep, girl boss.
There we go. I mean, that's what the gaming industry should just do. All right, Keith from San Diego writes in, and they ask, with so many of Nintendo's franchises having releases this year, it appears obvious that Nintendo will launch the Switch successor with a 3D Mario platformer or a Mario Kart. But if you had to dream, what lesser property would you want launching alongside the console? Wave Race would be my vote. Keith, San Diego, # let Link talk.
Man, Wave Race is a good one. I would love that. I'd be great to go back to the old way of like Pilot Wings being the tech demo showcase that they would be like, hey, here's how the system's going to work. Let's do a Pilot Wings. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with that. But Wave Race 1080, Excite Bike, or anything from the Excite series, like even like Excite bots or Excite trucks, that would be cool to see back. But yeah, Wave Race is probably the right answer.
Okay.
Arms,
legs. Let's get legs. The sequel. Let's make it happen. Star Tropics. I'll say Star Tropics for Mike.
Hips. Give me Hips the game.
Uniracers is good too. I'd like to see Uniracers come back.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, I could go for that. Kevin from Chicago writes in, hey duders, so I have a really weird situation and wanted to know if anyone else had something similar. I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer late last year.
Ooh, sorry, bud.
I'm fully cancer free today, so there's no
need
to be super sad ending. Woohoo! Happy for you, Kev. And the first step of my treatment was 8 rounds of aggressive chemotherapy. This meant every 2 weeks, I would get chemo via IV for around 6 to 7 hours at the cancer center. During that time, I'd honestly have a lot of time to kill and thought, hell yeah, video games. I'd always play around an hour of Marvel Snap, short games, good progression, not a ton of brain power, focus needed. I ended up dropping a game about 6 months ago, and today tried to boot it back up again to see what was new, etc. As soon as I opened the game, I suddenly got super nauseated and almost threw up. This happened 2 or 3 times over the course of a few days because I was like, there is no way this is happening. But sure as shit, I literally cannot play the game anymore because it makes me physically feel ill, like my body's fully associated this game with the side effects of chemo.
What?
It's a surreal experience, but I honestly don't think I can ever play that game again. Has anyone ever had such strong emotions tied to a game that they couldn't play it anymore? Love you guys. Kisses on the cheek for everyone. And lastly, if your body feels off, talk to your doctor. Kevin from Chicago.
Yeah, that's incredible advice, that last line. Like, absolutely. When something feels weird, go get it checked out. Don't sit on it. I've never had this, the only thing I can associate with the idea of like something turning you off in that kind of way is like a food thing, just because it like will make you ill, right? Like if you had food poison, like I remember many years ago, I had like a shrimp situation where like I had some bad shrimp and I couldn't eat shrimp for 2 years, right? Anytime I saw shrimp. So like, that's what I'm trying to find that connection, but I don't know with a game. I mean, Kevin, you have a unique, very unique relationship with that game. So that, I don't know.
I don't think it's happened with me in a game either, but I did get in a lot of trouble for a bad thing I did when I was watching Bourne Ultimatum, and now I can't watch Bourne Ultimatum anymore.
Okay, well, that's going to have to be explained and unpacked.
If someone calls into the voicemail dump truck, I will admit to my literal crime on there if it comes to that. So
you did have crimes with Marvel Snap too, I believe. So
in my driveway. Yes, I drove down the back of my driveway while playing Marvel Snap. But listen, that's just cool dude stuff. So.
Yeah, that is cool. You were smoking a cigarette too,
yeah,
right?
exactly. And wearing sunglasses to block out so much vision I couldn't see anything. So yeah.
And it was at night.
And no seatbelt either. No seatbelt.
No, what are those for?
I think I probably it's more so music that I'll have like an adverse reaction to, where I can't listen to this anymore because like I associate it with a person or like a specific time in my life. I can't say that with I don't think I could say that with a game.
Yeah. Also, music is like very heavily tied to the same part of your brain that processes like memory in general. So it stands to reason that you're going to have a lot of associations there. Sorry.
No, Nathan, please.
I was going to say, I don't think I have a game, but once in college, for like a sci-fi class, we were watching the movie The Island. What if I think Ewan McGregor is in it? Yeah. And there's a scene in that movie where a character is like getting his chest sawed open. He's like one of the clones that they're harvesting organs from. Spoiler. And like the viscerality of like his helplessness caused me to pass out. Like it was not a particularly violent scene, despite how I'm describing it. Like it's like a hologram saw, so like there's no gore really. It's just like, but he like wakes up during the process and like panics and freaks out. It's just like very upsetting.
Yeah.
And so it's just like watching this movie in a class full of other students, and like one moment I'm just like watching it but feeling uneasy, and the next moment it's like I blinked, only I'm sideways, and everyone is surrounding me, and I'm like, did something happen? And like, you passed out.
Wow. Have you passed out from stuff like that before?
No.
And never again?
Nope. Never again. First and only time.
Wow.
When I think of The Island, I think of what was the main actress's name? Black Widow.
Scarlett
Johansson. I remember her telling the story about like there was a scene where she wakes up in bed and Michael Bay wanted her to be shirtless, but didn't want her to be fully nude. So he made her like wake up in a bra. And she's like, he doesn't realize how crazy that is to have a woman sleep in her bra. And I'm like, like Michael Bay doesn't understand a lot of things.
That is a very sobering story.
Also, that movie's exactly like the MST3K episode, Parts the Clonus Whore. So I also think about that, but that's just for me. It's a good episode. People should watch that.
Damn. I have a fear of passing out. I've never passed out, but I have a fear of passing out. What's that called?
Being rational?
No, I don't think it is rational, Jeff. I think
it's a scary thing because, like, it does happen to people, right? Like, there's you don't know what your
FOPO.
Yeah, FOPO.
I stand corrected. There you go.
But it's like if you're driving a vehicle, like something like if you were to suddenly like I don't know,
Yeah.
like paying attention to your body when you're doing something like operating like heavy machinery, I think that's a fair thing.
Yeah. I mean, no, like for a reason, right? Where like Nathan like passed out because you saw something that was like traumatic, and that's how you reacted. Like, whoops, that's what happened.
They did make me sit down in the delivery room when we had because they did a procedure. They're like, oh, a lot of men pass out during this, so you're not allowed to do anything. You have to sit
from
in
the
this chair.
epidural.
It was there was some it's it's her business.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna put her on blast like that. Yeah, so it was kind of like, I think I would have been fine, but it's like it must happen so frequently that they know like this is the part where you sit in the chair, sir. I'm like, okay,
I got that
no problem.
talk too. Like, sir, you might want to look away.
Yeah,
you're like, don't fucking tell me what to do.
I watched Jaws when I was 8 years old.
Raiders of the Lost Ark freaked me the fuck out. I can handle anything.
Hey, this sounds like I think you should leave.
Yes,
Yo.
Yeah.
You're sure about that? Goddamn.
Last week, I believe it was last week, we started talking about juice in games.
Ooh,
yeah.
Ooh, let's go.
Jeff from Quebec City wants to introduce a new concept. Hi, Bombcast. Last week, Jeremy from Montreal wrote in about juicy games. And being from Quebec City, I'm now obligated to start beef with him. But since we're Canadians and don't fight, I'm just going to ask about lean games. What's the leanest game you can remember? Defined as games so perfect and to the point that there's absolutely no element left to be cut. Every part is essential, but nothing is superfluous. For me, it's titles like Into the Breach, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, and Portal. Cheers, Jeff from Quebec City.
Huh.
Hades is the first thing that pops up.
Yeah, I was going to say anything from Supergiant. Pyre also. Pyre is super underrated. I still think it's Supergiant's best game.
Oh, wow.
And like it's leaner in terms of length. Like Hades can be like 100 hours, whereas Pyre is like pretty tight and compact. You can finish it in 15, but like everything fits perfectly into place.
Yeah, I'm like, because like I think of examples and like they're also still pretty juicy. Like people are pointing out Peggle, but I suppose that's still, I think it still maybe fits this definition because it's like you take anything away from Peggle, you're going to be losing a lot. All the parts that are there for a reason. I don't know.
Oh.
I keep going to PUBG, but I think that's a different thing where that is utilitarian, which is different than lean, I think. So yeah, I don't know if I have a good answer.
Celeste.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good one. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a lean game. Yeah.
Love Celeste.
What's there's almost a lean game is VVVVV.
Sure.
The game where you're like reversing gravity. There's a couple
right.
stuff to be cut from that, but like it's almost lean enough.
Oh man, do you remember from like the same era, Cannibalt?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good lean game.
Man,
yeah,
Was that also like when N+ was a thing?
Yeah, it was around then.
Yeah, and Plus is almost a lean game. Super Meat Boy is like getting lean. It's like a skinny fat game.
In fact, well, it is meat. You could like fillet that.
An old one, Robotron. That's a good call, Mikon. And Robotron is just like it's component parts, early dual stick shooter kind of thing. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh man, Hotline Miami. That game influenced so many other games too that try to be similarly lean. I think.
Ape Out, heavily inspired by
Ape Out is so good.
Juice, the drums
oh my
of
god,
that, like that's also so juicy. But
yeah.
Well, it's also procedural based on like what you're doing. The soundtrack just builds and changes.
Yeah, reactive. It's the best. It's so cool. Yeah,
in fact, not enough people played that game. Anybody in chat who has not played that, like, go buy it on Steam right now. Like, you will not regret it. It's awesome, phenomenal. Especially if you like things like Hotline Miami. It's got a similar.
If you like grabbing guys and throwing them, like you're gonna like Ape Out.
You're an ape. You're an ape, and you throw people. It's great.
I love that game.
Would you say the NBA Jam is a lean game or a juicy game?
This is what's happened. This is what's happened with the juicy game, where we were just like, after a while, we just cultivated so much momentum. We were just like, every game is lean, every game is juicy. We're just like, what are we defining anymore? But NBA Jam's lean as hell.
Because I would say Def Jam Fight for New York is like right in between a juicy game and a lean game.
Sure, I think mechanically lean, where it has the wrestling interactions that you need that to make that work, and then all of like the way that the bass music makes the whole screen shake and stuff like that, and that's part of the fighting. That's pretty juicy.
Medusa Lover 69. So a game? Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
All right, that about does it for the emails this week. Once again, you can send your emails to bombcast@giantbomb.com. Help contribute to my email tree, please. My downstairs neighbor does not like that I'm barging into the backyard now with a toy shovel and bearing a bunch of papers.
That's their problem.
Well, yeah, you know what? It is their problem. Folks, we've gone to the shout-outs. Shout-outs.
Oh, God.
They're pretty tame this week, and I'm proud of all of us as a society. I'm proud of us.
It's because we had guests and everyone was on their best behavior.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
That's right, folks. Thank you for not showing who we truly are. Shouts out to
Sure, Nathan, this comes from a doc that we make public for a chat to put a bunch of shout outs in the middle of the show. So all of this was written by listeners.
It's the only pure social media now is a Google Doc.
Right. Yes.
Shouts out to the Giant Bomb Extra Life 2023 staff streams coming soon to a stream near you this weekend. Special shouts out to Turbo Sean, Zombie Pie, and the whole community for getting the ball rolling and starting strong. The Giant Bomb Extra team. Shouts out to Trans Rights. Shouts out to Aftermath.site. Check it out. Vote bitches. Tam is the man. Jan, you beautiful mind. You wrote it down and then said it wrong. You left out Gaiden, Sad Face, LADG:TMWEHN. Finishing the Grim Fandango belatedly for Day of the Dead is top tier. E.T. being buried with those cartridges is pretty lonely. Nathan's voice is too soothing for this early in the day. Children are small. They walk out the other end of eaten by sharks. Mary Kish, frightening children is fun. Love Disney films. Mitch probably. Dip is good. Fun fact, Cheerios are a fine substitute for nacho chips if you're making nachos. I don't fucking believe
No, get the fuck out of here.
I'm
with
going to
that.
have to do this now. I'm going to have to do this now. I have pizza and pizza's good. Hot take. Hot take out, that is. I, for one, welcome our great overlord, Chat GPF. When Maple Story Classic. When, Jan? No, seriously, y'all. Who let the dogs out? Green apple emoji, apple emoji. Farewell, Halloween. Hello, Thanksgiving. Giant Skeleton season is now... Friend, fake out, Gashadakuro gang forever. Gashadakuro gang for unlife. Ha 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 ha. Skelebeam powers unite. Epic store brand tattoos. Hey, nose, fuck you.
What? Are you okay? Is everyone okay?
I don't know.
Okay.
Shouts out to been unemployed and finally making it to a live show. Also, hot men. Hey, what can we say? Drew blinking
hair.
married guy Scanlon. Congrats, Drew.
Yeah, congrats, Drew.
Hey, no, stand up for yourself. Don't take abuse. And the final shout outs to the show, Animorphs check. I'm still at book 10. I stopped reading Animorphs because I didn't have time. And then, yeah. Nathan, are you familiar with how fucked up the Animorphs books are?
Let's see. I like watched the show when I was a kid, but I don't think I read any of the books.
They get very dark very quickly. And tackle a lot of very adult themes, which kind of coincides with what we're talking about, PG stuff.
Yeah, existentially upsetting stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Like maybe being stuck as an animal and having to
Well, get stuck as a bird.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or like
Yeah,
getting stuck as an ant for an extended period of time and losing your autonomy and then just being another cog in the machine. Wow, Animorphs.
Oh, that's terrifying,
I mean,
actually.
yeah, it's just like living under capital. I mean, nothing.
Oh,
No
shit.
It's almost as if Animorphs should have been the YA book franchise that took over the world because of the adult themes that it tries to conceptualize for children. Who knows? Nathan, thank you so much for joining us for this whole show. Shouts out to Chris Person as well. Where can folks find you, Chris, on the internet? Aftermath.site. Please plug.
Yeah. So yeah, aftermath.site obviously is where you should go. Subscribe if you can, because if you give us money, we can keep doing the things that we like to do forever. If you don't, we will wither and die. And then let's see, on Twitter, I am at VAHN16. I came up with that name forever ago. I regret it. I wish I could take it back, but I'm stuck with it. And let's see, Chris is, okay, his name Papa Pishu.
Papa Pishu,
Papa
yes.
Pishu.
Papapishu.
Yeah. I've always wondered what that's a reference to. Do you have any
me
idea?
Too. I think he's mentioned it before. Now I can't remember.
Okay, well, we'll never find out.
It's impossible to know. Yeah.
He's on a bus now. We'll never talk to him
They're
again.
gonna hear. Yeah, I'm not gonna hear from him again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then aftermath.site, folks. Please check it out.
Yep.
Beautiful. Website looks great. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clean. Very, very
Yeah.
crisp. Jeff, what do we got going on this week?
Game S mornings happen for the rest of the week at this point. Well, until Thursday, because Friday we're off. So that means things are going to get shifted around. Wednesday, we're doing the dump truck. Thursday, Bombcast, resurgence, and then there'll be some other stuff in there in between. I'll be playing some Alan Wake 2 on the website tomorrow. I'll be picking up from where I left off. So if you started watching along with us from the beginning, we're going to pick up from there. Backyard, you're going to be hanging out. Jan, you're going to be able to make it?
Yeah.
Either way, we're going to be playing. It's going to be a good time. That'll be tomorrow after Game S mornings.
Yeah, we got some things popping off later in the week. And also...
and then Thursday, tune in for a Bombcast Revengeance. We'll have a kind of a fun thing on there that's embargoed right now, so we can't talk about it yet.
And like what was mentioned in the shoutouts, this Saturday is the SF Team's Extra Life stream. John Luke is doing God's work and setting up a bunch of cables, so go ahead and thank them for the shenanigans that are about to ensue this weekend. And then next weekend, we got the Beef and Cheddar Boys joining Dan Reichert. And also flying in, we got the Windbag.
Got Windbag joining us. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So that'll be next weekend. This weekend, starting at 9 a.m., I'll be streaming, and then I'll pass it off to Jan and the West Coast crew. And then the following weekend, on Saturday, usually kind of during the day mostly, we're going to be streaming a bunch of stuff from Dan's house. He's got a whole bunch of stuff set up from us. So that'll be a lot of fun. Look forward to that.
Folks, that is it for this week's episode of the Giant Bombcast. Tune in later for this week for BCR. And we'll see you next Tuesday. I've been Jan. He's been Jeff. He's been Jeff. He's been Nathan. Chris was here, and he was Chris. And you at home, damn, the squats are working. You look great this week. We'll see you next time for another episode of the Giant Bombcast.